Gangplank, being the Spectre hanging over everything, how that kind of plays into that field.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 4-cost space because the macro is the most unconditional way that you can play the game. And from what we've seen, at least, Sorks has kind of been the go-to for a lot of these different compositions. You can flex in a lot of different tanks. The Leona, the Cassante, they both work in that comp.
Well, first game, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Everyone in the chat, make sure you support your teams, whether it's Flash Wolves or whether it's Twisted Minds. First game with the best of 3 starts right now.
All right, we're going to be starting ourselves off, Clement, with a Prismatic start, so we know at least we can have a lot of fuel injected from early on.
Yeah, whenever you see a Prismatic, you instantly think about the overpowered options that exist in the pool, and I would be taking a look at who gets the Destiny on 2-1 and also who gets 9 lives. Those are the two that are, you almost instantly feel like you have a leg up in the current meta.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing as well. I think particularly for Flash Wolves, it just feels like this series and this game especially, if they do go down in the first game, if they get blown out, as we've seen many teams do, it's just going to be such a big hit to the morale, knowing that while it's a kind of effectively double elimination at this point in the competition, you've still got a big uphill mountain to climb.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're looking at the Flash Wolves players. I do want to give them some little intros here. I think K-Balbao is the one that not a lot of people know him, but he was considered unanimously the best player of Southeast Asia, the TW Macau and Hong Kong server, all the way up until set 8. And he was only barred from the global stage because we didn't have a pathway to play in TAC round before set 8. So he's one of those, we call him the Lost Primarch, basically, and he's also the ace of the team, has the best AVP in their performances so far. So I'm going to be looking towards him to maybe carry Flash Wolves.
I think that's one of the things I really like about the 4v4 format, in the EWC in general, is it's giving a lot of players who otherwise maybe wouldn't be able to get up to the crown kind of level by themselves to have this extra metric they can work on, how well they operate within a team.
Absolutely, and it's, a lot of these squads, it's kind of similar for the Twisted Minds roster as well. They had very good individual performances, but it has been a while since they've been doing meaningful damage in the global stage. We haven't seen the finals for them for a number of sets right now, and 4v4 is the avenue where they think their veterancy can bring them back to the main centers.
All right, so as we get close to that first Prismatic augment coming in, we're looking out for a number of players who do have those promising starts and the early drops to come in. Of course, we've got some prodigies knocking around, and we do see Ironbog having a potential line in towards the crew, or maybe a Juggernaut line instead.
We're gonna get the Bludgeoner right here. A lot of times people will fish on stage 1 for their desired power-ups. I always hold my Nars. I try to look for Huna Huna, which deals true damage every 6 hits. That one is absolutely busted. So we are seeing a lot of fishing right here.
Clement, the first Prismatic augment we see, Crystal Gambit Vertical, is not something we see very often. The opportunity is here to take it.
So it is a very strong line and a first place line, but it also depends on hitting that Zyra on level 8. So a lot of players actually prefer to take this on 3-2 rather than starting out early with it. So we'll see what lines are available here. Prismatic Ticket, I think, is incredibly powerful depending on what you have on the board currently. If you're going for the crew, this is pretty much the best option. And there's a lot of deliberation going on here. We don't have a clear picture of the... okay, so they are going for this safe route, not the Crystal Gambit right off the bat.
All right, so Prismatic Ticket on the board will, of course, be dancing around the convergence to check what else everyone else has got going on. But as you said, we've got a chance for our players here to really stake their lanes early on by the Prismatics coming in. Ironbog gets the 3-star rel immediately thanks to building Bud. So I think we're going to be seeing pretty big commits across the field, including we're seeing the protagonist coming in from HN, something we haven't even got around to talking about yet.
Yeah, the 9,000 vaults coming out from the Kennen. This is currently the best AVP in terms of your 1-cost hero augments, and it's because Kennen is a triple traded unit. He can make use of the entire protector line, also has that Sork innately with him, so a very powerful one. I'm always happy with the Prodigy. And Flancy, wow, we just saw, we talked about the Destiny, also a strong hit there for him.
All right, so as we start to get things a little bit more developed, we'll keep an eye on how people are able to take over the early going. You see, of course, Ironbog, Shunga, and Flancy. Cavallo, mentioning to Cavallo, keeping the early momentum going, but yeah, as you said, in terms of the Destiny overall, of course, we see it, it's a very, very volatile augment. at the Prismatic level especially, how do kind of teams integrate this kind of variance into their plans?
Well, everyone has to communicate and find a composition that they want to play. I think the comp direction is probably the most important thing in 4v4. Who is in a bad spot? If you're in a bad spot, what oftentimes you're tasked with is to contest the best spot on the opposing team and try to drag them down with you. So that conversation has to be going on, but of course we have seen a couple of players that are already pretty locked in. We just saw from Flancy that he's going for the Soul Fighter, and I have to point this out early on. Soul Fighter in 4v4 actually can proc Prismatic very easily. He has the extra emblem, so he can get the 8 Soul Fighters in on stage 3, and if he wins 10 fights from there, which his teammates can help him with, then that's almost an instant first place.
I mean, I think that's a great thing to kind of expand on that idea as we start to get a little bit further in. You know, for anyone who hasn't seen 4v4 before, just the ability, of course, you know who your pool is. You can't guarantee, most of the time at least, exactly who you're playing against, but you've got your team, you know, prioritizing, making sure the one player gets ahead.
Absolutely. You want to play towards your win condition, and remember, first place gives you tiebreaker advantage. So even if you both end up on 18 points, whoever takes first place takes home the game. Now we're taking a look at Haru here, and unfortunately, I think this is one of the harder artifacts to use. He has the static shiv, which you want to have on something with a high attack speed carry. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Kel, because as we were talking about, Kel currently is sitting at an 8.0 AVP, went 8th every single time it was played.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that it's such a narrow dance for the Kale comp. You know, again, to reroll early and also get to level 9, it feels like it's very vulnerable to interference, but Haru, for the time being, is keeping themselves looking relatively healthy. Ironborg and Shunga, though, one player from each team have managed to maintain their initial streaks. We do know, of course, with the Prismatic augments coming in, we are set up for a game that can change quickly.
Yeah, and we do have most of the compositions already aligned here. So, you know, we're talking about the shape of the match. For Twisted Mind here, it's going to be a 2 reroll composition. They have the Kennen. They also have the Mundo and Jin set up here by Ahao. And meanwhile, Shunga with the birthday present is going to be leveling. Flancy with the Soul Fighter also likely to be leveling. So I think this is actually going to be a bit of a slower lobby than we've seen so far. Not as many rerolls going in.
Yeah, I mean, when there's so much gathering power like that, and of course we saw the Living Forge coming through before, there's some good late game potential. Again, just to expand a little bit on the 4v4 win conditions, we noted before, getting first place, dramatically important, but we've already seen many, many times, you know, if you take too much damage early on, your team gets knocked out, 3 players in the bottom, none of the rest of it matters. The game is just finished, you know, materially at that point instantly.
Yeah, we refer to that as a blowout situation, and sometimes you have 4 players in the bottom 4, and we refer to that as a domination, basically, just to get your terminology aligned here a little bit. And Achen here didn't find the core items here. Usually when you're playing this Kennen, you do want the Gwinsus and the Gunblade. It does change him into a ranged marksman. There's a lot of stuns that go through. It's really one of the strongest options you can pick. I think this protagonist, Prismatic, is just, it's almost an instant top 4 when it comes to 4-4.
Sure. Yeah, when just for anyone uninitiated, because some of these augments don't turn up very often.
Yes.
You're getting the hero augment, and you're getting 1 free Kennen every single time. So you can see the Kennens on the bench right now. You can conceivably get them up to 4-star if you're determined enough.
Yep, you can just keep him on your bench there, and the reason I say it's very powerful, it's because that usually the power level of comps across the board in 4v4 is much lower. Everyone is holding the cards that the opponent team wants, so everyone tends to cap lower, but you don't mind as protagonists. People can't deny you. You're being force-fed Kennens every single round.
Let's talk a little bit about Ironborg there. We should check them out in our mirror view here with YYDM. You know, Ironborg certainly right now is can kind of control the board, completely undefeated, of course, by having the 3-star Relin. How does this kind of work into his sort of role in the team long term?
So we actually have seen the Rel being played towards the Sork comp rather than the Star Guardian composition. I think if he finds a Star Guardian emblem on 3-2, he would still go into that line. But currently on the patch, that's considered slightly weaker. So the way we've seen the sort of 3-star Rel being played around is actually going for the Sork comp and getting that Bastion on with the Swain as well.
Yeah, certainly a lot of frontline. Because on the other side, of course, we saw the Prismatic ticket from before. It looks like we are going to be seeing the Juggernaut Jin composition being brought together just a little bit faster with those extra rerolls.
Yep, Zari slamming onto the Guinsoo's Rage Blade, even though Jin scales very interestingly. Guinsoo's Rage Blade, you can definitely put it on him. It's good Jin itemization. Looks like Ironbog will keep his full win streak. On the other hand, YYDM also closing out on the bottom. So in terms of streaks, Flash Wolves getting off to a good start.
Well, talk to me about, so as we start to work our way towards Stage 3, how important is it for the Flash Wolves, again, coming to this one as the less favored team, let's put it that way, to have control of the win streak?
Oh, I think it's massively important because the streaks are where your gold really comes from when it comes to high-level TFT. So being able to sandwich the other team to keep their streaks going. If you get to that 6 area, it's +3 gold in terms of interest. So that's what they're really going to be looking for. What I'm more interested in is how they are going to pivot around these compositions. So far, I think Twisted Mind has a much easier path in terms of determining their comps, but it's more... I can't really tell where some of these Flash Wolves players are going to go just yet. I will say, however, most likely YYDM with that Guinsoo's Rage Blade and Ahawe. This is the contest I want to see because they both have a chance to pivot into GP. And so far, no one has claimed put a stake there yet.
I mean, is there a world in which, you know, if we kind of got a game of chicken here where both teams, as long as nobody breaches the Gangplank chess, nobody else takes it and says, you know what, we're just going to live without that in this game?
I'll just tell you, before today, before I did the stats, I might have bought into that narrative. Right now, after seeing the stats, 2.9 AVP, I'm sorry, one of them is going to hard pivot to GP. It's just about when they strike.
Of course, we've seen, you know, the big facet of having GP be such a big thing is we've just seen backlines again and again just getting completely obliterated. I mean, I don't, you know, based on those stats, it doesn't seem like there's an obvious answer for what you even do to exist in a world like this.
Yeah, it's everyone. It has to be a team effort. Everyone has to deny. You most likely have to have a player that also contests the GP just to hold the other player down as well. Big thing to mention here that we're seeing on our board, K-Baba, who took Flexible, got Strategist, and the Battle Academia emblem. These emblems are usually chained through the Katarina composition, but he doesn't have the items for it. So it's going to be... I'm really curious on where he's going to land up.
Well, I mean, you were talking about Kababa as being, you know, very much a dark horse on the team. It does seem like it's a huge variance move to try and go for Flexible and say, I don't even know what I'm getting this whole game.
Yeah, they have 3 players from Hong Kong, and they all have very similar playstyles in Ironbog, Alpha Chi, and K-Bao. And what they all like to do is flex play. They are the masters at that. They use any forecast they hit, and then they like to go level 9 and beat you with extra units on the board. So they're very comfortable in this style, but it's also very daunting as a fan to watch because you just don't know where they're going to go.
Well, I mean, it certainly sounds like they're the ones best equipped for it. We do see, yeah, YYDM doing a little bit of tweaking around to try and get everything put together. So we've ended up with Duelist and the Juggernaut as our 2 emblems right now on the board. And there is the Gangplank. It didn't stay a mystery for long.
Yeah, once I saw the Guinsoo's being slammed and no one angling for GP just yet, I know that someone was going to go there. But he also has a secondary angle right here. We also see the Crystal Emblem, Crystal Gambit Emblem. So he could actually just take a lot of these Gangplanks, and if he really wanted to pivot later on, he would still have a pathway. However, I do want to mention that he did roll super heavy, down to 10 gold, just to make sure he gets to streak on stage 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's another interesting aspect of the 4v4 experience, isn't it? You have different members of your team in very different economic positions. For example, you might have a player who's got 70 gold in the bank, and others who are almost dry already.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting one coming in here for Flancy. He actually took extra HP. So we don't see this a lot. I think it's in 4v4 terms. I mean, in solo terms, you don't see this a lot. But in 4v4 terms, I think what he's going for is he's kind of like the battery for the team. You guys are still finding your footing. Get your compositions online. I'm here to lose to you and make sure you have that time to find your footing.
Yeah, and again, I think this is why this is the format which is most favored by the pro, just because it adds this extra strategic layer that you can really just dive into and just have an ocean of possibilities. But while this is all going on, of course, we keep an eye on our players. So looking overall, we're seeing a pretty good mix. I mean, the Flash Wolves do have the 2 bottom of players at the moment in terms of HP, and they are quite far behind in HP. We know that if they do drop the first 2 players out in 7th and 8th, then they will then need to get 1st and 2nd to win.
Yeah, so that's why I think YYDM was willing to roll so heavily. He wanted to claim his stake in the GP line and also make sure there's not too too much pressure on the rest of his teams. In the meanwhile, Ironbog actually went for the Star Guardian line. He took Rig Shop and is going to go for what we term the Nico, Swain, and Ari line, but all of them are 3 costs. So he's going to be rolling very heavily on 7 to try and stabilize. Also, not a very common strategy in 4v4 just because of how easy 3 costs can be denied here.
Yes, I believe has a rig shop if I didn't miss that one there. So hopefully that will make things a little bit easier. But further to what you're saying, that feels like that's always going to be hanging over 4v4. It's just the very limited supply of 3 costs that can, you see an entire opposing team, even taking 1 or 2 of them out of the pool, it's suddenly really impractical to get the 3-star.
I just want to put this out there. It would be crazy if Flash Wolves somehow finds all of their compositions on stage 4. Like, so far, they seem like they can still be very malleable in where they end up, especially for someone like K-Bao, which is unconnected in terms of his emblems. And also Haru, this one's interesting. Katarina so far has not been doing very well in this tournament. Very low win rate. Typically, when we see the static Shiv, it's usually something like the Kale or the Kog'Maw that has very high attack speed. But he's trying to play it from a Katarina angle. So he's really depending on that next artifact drop.
Yeah, this is really fascinating because, as you're right, we're seeing the more traditional Katarina items come in. Also, the Archangels there on the Rakan as well. So Haru's definitely brewing something down here at the very bottom. And it looks like in this round, up against Ironbog, at least won't be taking a harsh loss. Now, Katarina's doing a little bit more, but as soon as she gets targeted, of course, she should be removed from the field with quite a little impunity. Perhaps a little closer than I would have expected.
But Haru does need to stabilize relatively quickly. He's still 6 copies off from the Katarina. This is going to be a very daunting task, and I think we're going to know his placement by early stage 4. He has to roll and keep up on tempo.
So you see the executioner being swapped out there. And a second power-up coming in across the board as well. So we'll be seeing a huge step forwards in overall board potential with every single one of our players. And right now, again, as a kind of stasis check, Twisted Minds, they have 3 players in the top 4.
Yeah, I think it's Twisted Mind had a much easier time just deciding where they were going to go with their compositions. Protagonist is pretty much just guarantees you a top 4 in this format. And in the meantime, look at Haru here. He Climb the Ladder and also over 9,000, so he's hard committed right now towards the Katarina composition. But can he find those critical artifacts? What he's really looking for is something like Dawn Core that could help him cast multiple times, a really good Katarina comp, or something like the Zanyas. Those would be the 2 best hits. If he doesn't find them, I don't have high hopes for his spot.
And I want to kind of open up the general question here. We see Haru taking a loss. Is generally speaking, how in the current meta, how open do you think teams should be to playing these more high roads, to taking these kind of big, high-risk, high-reward kind of plays?
So we might find out right now. Once he pops that artifact, Zanya's Dawn Core. Seekers is somewhat acceptable, but he's going to go Mana Zane for the backline. It's going to be on the Yuumi, so not on the main carry.
Okay. I mean, I guess we can live with it. Let's talk a little bit about what Kabaro's got going on here, though, of course. We've got a mentor board with that Prismatic ticket, so presumably we haven't been doing a ton of re-rolling as of yet, but we're close to getting the Kabuko 3 online.
Ooh, and everyone's going to be landing on Prismatics. This is huge right here. Ahahe, if he can find a range extension, he's already angling himself clearly for the GP.
Yes.
As he finally hits it. We talked about this. If you're building Gwinsus and haven't found a line, it's most likely GP.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got all the items ready to go if we do want to make the move. And we're even going to have the Prismatic Gwinsus come in. So you look at the stats of this composition, the Radiant Gwinsus is absolutely huge.
Yeah, this is getting a Radiant Masterwork is just, I think, the best out of the Prismatic items. A lot of times you get handed artifacts, and if you can't use them, you're just really far behind. So getting a Masterwork, I think this is the best possible thing that he could have landed on. The only other question is he is getting contested by YYDM. So who is going to hold on to the tempo and who has more copies?
I mean, it's been a question which we've been looking at across this as we check in with Shunga, and it looks like we've got the Karma comp being put together relatively quickly. The Sorcerers, we can see that the front line, though, even though we haven't really seen this comp from Aohae really being realized, it rips through the Sorcerer comp.
Absolutely. Sorcerer comp, you're still waiting on that Karma too. It's really hard to get over an Edge of Night carry right now. And oh, it's gold, so heroic grab back could be huge for our two GP players to see who can finish the race first.
All right, checking back in with Ironbog. The 8-star Guardian has been achieved. So, you know, as much as we wouldn't necessarily be expecting those big verticals to be hugely influential, Ironbog's making it look good.
Yeah, he really wanted to find a Luden or Manazane here for his Ahri that's already 3-star. Luden would be the best option. Doesn't hit it so far, and probably has to consider probably tank items for his front line.
Yeah, currently looking very low there. Of course, we've got the 3-star rail just like creeping away at the corner as the main tank waiting. But based on what we've seen from Ironbog, yeah, you know, he got the early advantage with the Boulevard. You know, he's still up in #1 spot. If you're talking about players who are able to donate HP to their teammates, very much able to do so.
Absolutely. The question is, does he want to do it? Because I'm not sure Haru stabilizes, even if you put a lot of resources into him. He just did not find the artifact, so he's basically playing down a Prismatic, given his composition here. Now we're going to see the full power of the RE3. The good thing about Ironbog, at the very least, is he hit very well.
And we can see there, even with the Edge of Night to allow you to that extra chance for the Gangplank, you do need time, as we'll see here, even with the stretchy arms, you need time for the Gangplank to build up infinite range and snipe out everybody on the board.
Yeah, now Flancy, we're going to be taking a look at his board. He already has the 8 Soul Fighter online, so we're going to have to ask our observers to keep very good track of how many wins he has. If it's 10 fight wins, that means he basically goes into unbeatable territory. The Soul Fighters just keep on getting bigger and bigger and deal infinite true damage.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, like, you know, it's really easy to miss it because it's not something which we've been seeing being played a lot. I love to see it, even this early on in the competition, our players showing that, well, of course, they can play to the meta that's already been established. They know what, you know, they can break out when needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a Manazane onto the Katarina. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
I mean, we've got the, well, not the ultimate range on the Gwen, but we've got Mega Snip Gwen, and she does snip through the whole board. She's built for damage, she's built for safety.
And that was a 2-star Gwen also. So this is going to throw a lot of wrenches, I think, into the Twisted Mind Gangplank. Because if that +1 range Gwen can hit 4 range, 5 range, there's no way you can actually beat that board unless you're coming in with the Prismatic board yourself. So they could have an early lock-in of K-Bao sitting on only 27 HP, and suddenly he shoots up into the standings and makes it really difficult for Twisted Mind.
Yeah, we're keeping a close eye on there. I mean, still, as we come to the midpoint of Stage 4, we can't help but notice that Twisted Minds, every single one of their players is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th overall. They've got themselves in such a great position to say, you know, maybe not all of us can get in, but everyone's in a position which they're happy to move further in the game from. The
HP advantage is massive. There's at least 60 extra HP onto the side of Twisted Mind. So I think a big question here is, can you actually kill K-Bao's board before he comes online? If that happens, then suddenly it's a 1st place, dropping all the way to 7th, and you pretty much secure the game. But so far, I don't think we've seen a board that's actually strong enough to take down the Gwen. If we look at Ahaoe right now, he's sitting on 6 GPs, very, very far away from being able to contest.
Yeah, I mean, if it was ever going to be a situation in which you could conceivably go for the Gangplank 3, it's having the Prismatic ticket. But as we see here on the other side, you know, the contest is enough. The protagonist, Kennen, it looks like we are looking for the 4-star Kennen in this game. So it's going to be a major menace on the backside. As you can see right now, even against the Gangplank board that theoretically should make a mess of Kennen, if he's not on the right side of the board, he doesn't even get close to him.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for this Kennen board. And I do have to point out that he did natural a lot of Kennens before hitting his 3-star. Once you hit 3-star, you can't get any of them from the shop. And it's really important if you want to play towards the 4-star Kennen sort of win condition. So he's still 10 Kennens off total from the 4-star. And I think it's going to be rather difficult to see this being hit here.
No, I'm with you as well. Yes, every single one of those Kennens found is one extra turn towards finding an ultimate power. But still there, as we check in with Haru, down on 19 HP. We said before, an 8th is not a death sentence for a team, but you still want to avoid it wherever is possible.
Absolutely. So I think his win condition here is actually just a Kali 3. It's usually not a very contested 4 cost. I mean, you can dream. You can dream. But
dream big.
Yeah, but I think the hopes for Flash Wolves right now are definitely going to be landing on K-Balbal's shoulder. Just that rapid fire cannon plus the Gwen combination. He also has strategist in. It's very easy to flex in Crystal Gambit, going in through Swain to the Sorks, and also picking up the strategist at the same time, playing towards his emblems.
I do want to just take a second just to recognize what we're seeing happening on this board here. We were talking about the Katarina not getting that much success, but with the Manazane, we expected that to be moved more into the backline here. She is doing work.
I think that was the Iron Box strategy from the start. I'm going to play this B tier comp. I'm going to hit on time, but the rest is up to you guys. So he did pass HP towards towards his teammate, but I think the important thing is K-Bubble actually lost a round. Gwen 2 with perfect artifacts, losing. That would be kind of the nail in the coffin for Flash Wolves if he does finish in the bottom 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing as well, is that you can have the most incredible backline carry, but if your front line isn't quite there, then it's always going to be a very different story. Checking in with Shunga, of course, the Dragon Lord, we mentioned before, the only world champion playing in the entire event right now.
And sometimes you just got to hit. Look at the birthday present he got. It's a unit that he could slot in directly to his composition. He got a Braum too. Stabilizing his board, super good. He also, this is K-Ball on the other hand, moving his items. Oh, he also is going to be using the Fusion Dance. So this is a new tech that we've seen, but currently Fusion Dance gives you 100% of the AP that the unit is taking. So,
oh boy.
I think, I don't see K-Ball losing, honestly. I'd be very, very shocked to see this board lose before we get the 10 Soul Fighter.
I'm interested to see as well that, along with the stealing of the Lucian stats there, we'll be seeing the backline be fully itemized. This comp is built for damage, but once you go up against a board like this, which has an enormous amount of Juggernaut tank, I wonder if the Gwen and the Karma can cut through them quick enough. That Gangplank in the corner, he's stacking range, and he's going to move himself out of trouble. He does get burst quite a lot, but he's so close.
Not getting targeted. But the Gwen still finishes off with the needlework right there on the left side. 2 big wins here for Flash Wolves.
As we get deeper into stage 5, we take on the HP again. We can see that it's starting to close in as Shunga hits level 10. 30 HP and below, 20 HP and below for our bottom 3 players.
Yeah, Shunga didn't find the Gwen. He really wanted that from the birthday present. Gets the Varus instead. It's going to instant sell. But he has one of the best boards here. The problem is I don't see someone that can contest first place against K-Bao so far. Just looking at this, so for Flash Wolves, if they can just have 2 members in the top 4, make sure it's not a blowout, then K-Bao will win it for them based on tiebreaker. Yes.
I mean, it'd be such a heartbreaker to have the game-winning composition there, and for it ultimately not to matter. Yeah. It takes a pretty extreme circumstance to happen, as we do see Shunga gets ripped through. I didn't quite appreciate how strong that Gwen was.
That was not even close, to be honest. It was basically Gwen 1v6 in the final just ultimate going through. However, we do have a GP3 that's finally came out. And as we talked about the stats, it's a 2.9 average right there. So for Twisted Mind, they still have a good shot. What they ideally want is for Flash Wolves, Haruru, and YYDM to go 7 and 8th. Currently, they have 16 HP combined between those 2 players. If they go 7 and 8th, it doesn't matter if K-Pop goes first, because Ironbach would also need to go second.
Yes, I mean, that's one of the most extreme but still winnable situations to get into. I mean, I can conceive of a team trying to push themselves that way because they have no other options. We'll keep our eye closely on Flancy on your left, YYDM on the right. One from each team fighting for their survival. We've seen the other side. The Karma board is huge. The Gwen, of course, in the corner. For Shunga, he's not quite the Gwen we've seen before, but it's still a lot of damage. I don't think Samira's got enough in the tank.
Oh, Flancy going down would be huge here. That means the 7-8 strategy is not going to work out. And in the meantime, Ironbox successfully keeps his teammate in the fight. Remember, in 4v4, keeping your teammate alive is just as important as eliminating members from the other side.
So now as we move on, we've got 2 Flash Wolves and potentially 2 Twisted Minds players in the bottom 4. If it stays the way it is at the moment, then ultimately it will only be the first place in the lobby that will matter overall.
Yeah, this is getting very, very tight for Twisted Minds. They can't take out K-Bao. I think it's pretty much impossible. They lost their Prismatic win condition on Soul Fighter. So now honestly, their only remaining strategy is to blow out Flash Wolves. but I think it's so difficult because of how much HP Ironbog has. Ironbog is 40 HP. He's going to take at least 3 fights to take out here.
Well, I suppose the only sort of wrinkle to that is that the HP of everybody else from 4th place and below is pretty darn low.
Yep.
We're getting close to stage 6, so there's still a possibility of having a surprise happen suddenly.
Oh, Haru, man, managing to stay alive on this line, not getting to use his Prismatic. I think this changed so much of the story, the narrative of this game right here. Just being able to sneak through. He probably had a couple of good rolls against his teammate, but now one of them will have to drop out.
Oh boy, it's so painful. I mean, that's the whole thing, isn't it? When you're playing these high-risk strategies as a team, you know that eventually it's going to come back to bite you. It's just a case of the team setting up for whoever they think has got the best long-term potential.
I think it has to be Haruru, so Flash Wolves are probably happy with this outcome. He does have the Pandora's Bench, which guarantees him always a sliver of a chance for that 3-star Yuumi, that 3-star Akali.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to keep those doors open, don't you? So we've got Flancy from Twisted Minds out in 8th, while we DM from the Flash Wolves out in 7th place. HPs are starting to dip dramatically as we're getting very close to the end. Ahoe carrying things away with a massive win streak.
Yeah, Ahoe was the player going with the Kennons. Achen was Kennen, sorry. So Ahoe was going with the GP comp so far.
Yes.
He's going to be the one, I think, contesting K-Balbao in the final lobby for all the marbles, most likely.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, there's barely any HP in it. I mean, Shunga certainly, as we talked about before, that birthday present has got up to level 10. We've got a very, very good board here. Still maybe a little bit more to give, but do we think that Shunga can hold on any longer?
I think he's pretty much capped out at the moment, but if he can take down Ironbox, send him into the bottom 4, that would be huge for the team right now. Remember, Twisted Mind already has an 8th place player. 1st place most likely going to K-Balbao, so their most likely win condition is only the blowout. And for the blowout to succeed, you need 3 members of the opposing team in the bottom 4. Looks like he might be able to do it, but no, he drops out. Oh, that's huge. If 2 members of Twisted Mind are in the bottom 4, then it's no longer possible to achieve a blowout?
Well, yeah, I mean, we potentially, see, Haru right now on 6 HP. We've got Kabaro's teammate above on a win streak and 16, so it's still very volatile. If HN can get pushed down into the bottom 4, that would end the game immediately, but I just don't know how likely that is.
Yeah, a lot is hinging on how fast that Kennen 4 can actually come online. I think he was still 3 copies off the last time we saw on that for Achen, the protagonist, one of the best early augments that you can have for this line. Taking a look here, we're still 2 rounds off, 19 HP. Oh, it's going to come down to fight RNG. Here we go. Who does he face up next? It's going to be against K-Balbao, Ahoe, and Ironbox. So K-Balbao is the one he definitely doesn't want to go up against. It's just 2 rounds off. Can he make it through?
Gosh, yeah, the real big decision point of how you proceed as a team going forwards. I mean, this is where, of course, the reps really come in as a squad to have been here before, to make those hard decisions, say, we're going to cut off some lines of victory to go for our best option.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ahoe is still hanging on to the GP3, a very, very strong composition in its own right, but I don't see the necessary, the upside of potentially beating that. Unfortunately, the Gwen 2, I think, is just probably a little bit too strong at the moment. Haruru probably going to meet the end of the road. Radiant item GP3, best comp in the tournament so far.
All right, so we've actually ended up with a sandwich layout overall, which means that the Flash Wolves will come in into the second half of the game with the advantage, but it's not the blowout it could have been. It does mean that we're going to be seeing to see Twisted Minds getting the 1st place and at least the 3rd place if they want to win.
Yep, 1 and 3 are necessary for Twisted Mind. On the flip side, that means that if Flash Wolves can sneak someone into the top 2, they will, not top 2, sorry.
Top 3.
Yeah, top 3.
Yeah, this is, I think, the only situation, or one of the very few situations, where a 1st place isn't actually necessary to win the game overall.
Yeah, one of the very rare times that we can see this. So if Achen goes 4th place now, the game is practically over. Mathematically, Twisted Mind will have no chance. This could be the last fight. Let's see if Ahoe did take off his items here. And he did. The GP3 is on the bench. They know their win conditions, making sure to sack for their teammates. It's already a 4-star Kennen. Can this electric carry, take them over the finish line.
I was sure you were about to say Boogaloo, so I was giving you space to
I
say
was thinking like, wait, can I reference another game? No, maybe not.
All right, so we're still in this fight, but I mean, HN has got no rigor whatsoever. I mean, the protagonist we knew was going to be telling a compelling story from the beginning.
And he might be meeting his makers here, because it is going to be the most difficult member out of the entire lobby. It is going to be the Fusion Dance Gwen 2 that he has to overcome. If he can take out K-Bao here, Twisted Mind has got it in the bag, but it's going to be very hard. He has to position his cannon. We've seen this a lot, to take it on the third row to avoid the fan attack of the Gwen. Get him out of range.
A little bit of movement moving across the right corner instead. So we'll see how long he can stay out of the clutches of K-Bao's Gwen, who's been an absolute menace the whole way through the lobby. I think the positioning here looks like it's decent. The main tank taking most of the damage of the way, and so Gwen so far has not overrun the board. The cannon is stacking up power. He has got the shield coming in here. The board's starting to disappear. He gets on the Gwen, will drop, and that's one more. Iron Bulk is out of this one. The top 3 is achievable.
Oh, and what a great play coming in from Machen. He was able to stack all of his tanks right in front of the cannon, made sure that the Gwen wasn't able to get those early kills and extend her range, and suddenly K-Bao's path to victory might be in jeopardy right here.
Okay, so it's not over yet. The first place is still required. The third place is already secured, but it will not matter if K-Bao still stays top of the heap.
Winner takes all.
I mean, the positioning worked that time. Do we think it's going to work a second time?
That is the big question right here. So what K-Bao really needs to do is he needs to get early kills onto the Gwen, extend the range, and make sure that first needlework actually hits the backline. Those are a lot of different win conditions that he needs to meet, and I want to see if he actually moves his Gwen up a little bit more to kind of extend the early range, make sure that he can get early takedowns for that. Are they facing each other once again? It does look like it's going to be a repeat matchup. Let's take a look at the positioning. It's going to be very similar, which I have to give the advantage to Achen then.
And it's the same as before. We're only seeing one unit being attacked by the Gwen. Of course, she's got the main AoE across the board. We'll cut through the tank, of course. Casante, with his Resurrect, brings himself back online immediately. But this is the Gwen going forwards. And top 3 and top 2 are gone. The Wolves have done it, coming from behind.
It's a double kill. That was the lost Primarch I was talking about. I thought his name was going to be forgotten in history. The best player that peaked too early. But he comes back and clinches it for the Flash Wolves.
Wow, I mean, I thought maybe you were talking about a little bit too much, but that is a proving ground. You can see the shocked faces coming towards the end there. You can see, I don't think either team were ready for that ending.
K-Bao, remember the name, the best player out of this Apex server, but didn't get his chance. Now he finds his opportunity at the Esports World Cup.
Oh boy, what a game.
What a game indeed. Boys, that was sensational. That was only the first game. That was only the first game with the best of 3 between these two. And what a way for it to end, a double kill by K-Bao at the end. Oh my lord, if this is only the first game, I can't wait to see what the rest of the series has to hold. A 4-star cannon getting wiped out at the end, the long-range Gwen coming in clutch. Flash Wolves, I mean, I told you guys, upset. This is what we're expecting going into this.
Well, this is what the Flash Wolves needed. We talked about it before it all started. They came into this one #1 seed. The Champions League did not go well for them. They needed this first win to recapture momentum and make themselves back into a team who can win.
And let's just, take a breather, go over what happened that game.
Okay, go for it.
They looked like they were in such a bad spot. YYDM contested, losing HP. Haruru missed on both of his artifacts. I thought he was going fast 8th, but they were able to hold down the Soul Fighter player, going hit 8th instead, had that 2-point advantage. And also a big thing was that the Kennen didn't find enough natural copies to get the 4-star early that allowed him to scale even up for K-Bao. What a way to clinch out and
honestly
get that upset.
And I want to bring it back specifically to that last round, because the positioning did not change for that last fight. So what was it in that last fight that actually changed? Positioning was not it. So was Gwen able to get a kill early on to extend that range like you mentioned, that's exactly what she needed? Was that the opening that she found?
I'll be honest, I think the most important fact is if that third ultimate actually crit or not. That is kind of the make or break point.
Yeah.
If you do get that extra crit, it's 40% extra damage. And we just saw in that single needlework, in a blink of an eye, all the frontliners were gone.
Exactly.
So I think that was the difference.
And all of a sudden, Ken was just on his own. And I was waiting, okay, the second there's a 4-star Ken, okay, it could be the end, but nope. Gwen just too strong. And you mentioned it yourself before we jumped into this game. You just have to hit better. So let's have a look at the highlights, see exactly what happened throughout that last game. And I really I want to try to like slow down as much as I can and focus towards the last fight, but let's see how it led up to that moment,
Well,
guys.
of course, you know, a big part of this game, we did see the Gangplanks coming in force. We got a little tease with the possibility our players might have got a Gangplank ceasefire, but very much not the case towards the tail end. But they kind of fell out of, you know, being the focal point of the game compared to what we've seen in other matches.
Yeah, once Ahawe was able to hit that Gangplank 3, I thought Twisted Mind were in the driver's seats. But what we didn't expect was the player K-Bao, who didn't have a clear position on where he was going for, suddenly hit the Gwen 2 on level 8 to stabilize the board and make sure that he was able to take off other members from Twisted Minds.
And we're coming towards the very final fights here. And the second that we got that 4-star cannon finally on the board, seeing it get absolutely unleashed.
So this was the round where it did go well. We saw, well, Tone, the stun did come in on the Gwen at the backline from the Jarvan. It's a matter of moments between whether Gwen kills everything or just doesn't have enough DPS.
Yeah, this is the one I believe where the positioning did not change. I'm waiting for the Gwen to nuke absolutely everybody.
No stun, I'd imagine, in this round.
No, but it was, yeah, it was just, yeah, there we go. It was a combo
those are
of
the
the
lines.
needlework, karma damage coming in as well at the same time. Just absolutely shredded every single champion there. Boys, and, again, I have to say, upsets. This is what we want to see. This is what TFT is all about.
It's so cool. I do want to point out he actually switched his power up last second right there. Was started
really?
from Fusion Dance and actually went for Hemorrhage for max damage earlier to take the to get the takeout ranges. So really clever, worked out in the end for him.
I do want to highlight as
Good
well,
catch.
This was a flexible player who was doing
Yes.
this. This wasn't just a regular player. This is a player who's like, I can make anything work, me.
And my God, did he make it work in that one, securing a very important finish. And like you guys mentioned as well, looking towards the reactions of the players, their faces said so much. We can see all the Twisted Minds players are there still ready. They're at their desks. They're waiting. They're trying to lock in. And Flash Wolves, I feel like they're trying to recenter themselves at the moment. But
Look at this graph. Goes all the way to 16 HP in the middle of the game and then climbs all the way back. He knows his combo conditions right here. For most of the game, Flash Wolves, I thought they were out of it. They didn't have the positions. Their win-out player was starting so low, but they climbed.
I do want to point out as well, from what we saw from that last graphic, you know, the first half of the game, as it were, was still being controlled well by the Flash Wolves to get themselves into that position where they got into the second half with the advantage. They could have won, you know, had it not been that way, but I think it speaks to the overall strength of their gameplay that that's the way it happened.
yeah, and now I gotta ask, what can Twisted Minds do to kind of, I want to say not towards the gameplay, but how do they get themselves back mentally into this series between them and Flash Wolves?
That was a Prismatic PvE round, and anything can happen in those rounds. You can get dropped an artifact with the Gwen and insta-win the game. So I would just tell myself that this is variance. If we look at our game plans, we had the more solid footing. We had the early HP leads. We were 60 HP up. That was gifted to them by Mortdog and RNG, but we can take it back.
You see what you did, Mortdog? You see what you did? I see you. I'm watching you. This is what happened. This is what you do. But anyways, boys and girls, we're going to be going for a very short break, and then we're going to be coming back with the second game of this best of 3. So don't you dare go anywhere.
Ooh.
If I heard that you if I heard that you Lately I feel I can't find my feet. Pushing closer, my heart skips a beat, and now I'm falling. Deeper than I fly, I can't control it. Dark against the sky, it's not so black and white. It's like I told him, there's things that I can't fight. I just keep going, I just keep going. In my time, I've been dreaming of a space to really fill my place. I wish he'd seen what I had dreamed. Before these darker days, I thought I found my way. Quickly fades, losing the race, closing the page. In and out, I move myself again. Time moves fast, I feel my heart beating. And now I'm falling, deeper than I fly. I can't control it. Dark against the sky, it's not so black and white. It's like I told him, there's things that I can't fight. I just keep going, I just keep going, I just keep going. I just keep going. Dark against the sky, there's things that I can't fight. I just keep going, I just keep going.
Reach your impossible, Lenovo Legion.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and we continue our third series of the day after a whirlwind finish at the end for Flash Wolves taking that first game of the best of three against Twisted Minds. And if you weren't here, what in the world were you doing? That first game was bad. That first game was crazy. And I'm pretty sure we have 2 more bangers lined up for the rest of this series. I think it's going to go all 3. Just there. Yeah, I'm going to go. It's going to be 3 games. I don't think Twisted Minds are going to take this.
That's what we want. That's what we deserve. These teams, I mean, we saw them run right to the finish line there. I mean, I think the big story, of course, Flash Wolves came in underdogs, managed to make their one work in the Prismatic first lobby. The temptation has got to be for Twisted Minds to change up what they were doing because they didn't get the win.
And how many games do you see actually go to the final fight for everything to be decided in a 1v2 for K-Bao?
And for it to be a double kill as well. And, you know what? I'm going to leave you boys with that. Here we go. Second game of the best of 3. Let's get the show on the road. It's over to you, boys.
Well, Clement, if you were happy with a Prismatic start before, maybe I could interest you in a loot subscription for game number 2 if you want one further way to make sure that Twisted Minds stay off balance.
So I will say this is one of those encounters where we do find a lot of Crystal Gambit players. It's very common that you're going to get an extra spat, and if you have a belt to go with that, then that's 7 Crystal Gambit online. Typically, this set, I think loot subscription has been a lot more tolerable because there aren't as many prismatic traits that could be chased.
Yes, at least with the change up to the quest system means that it's no longer just the guaranteed push all the way through. But yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see some players going towards the Crystal Gambit. We saw before the option was presented and put aside by our players as perhaps too risky in this kind of environment. But for anyone who wasn't here for game 1, what do you feel like the carry-ons into game 2 are for each of the teams?
Well, I think that for Twisted Mind, if I did have to criticize something, it would be finding their win-out condition. Because they didn't. They had very clear game plans. They didn't have a player that was necessarily going to carry them, that you knew that was going to just win out at the final end. And once you have that stabilized, then you can kind of have your game plan settled as well. You can play towards that player, make sure he has enough HP to contest at least in the final lobby and such and such. For Flash Wolves, even though they won the previous game, I do want to see them actually decide their compositions a little bit earlier. We are going to have the massive gold open start. And you know what that means?
I imagine we're going to be seeing a lot more being spent early on as well.
Yeah, that means 2 things. Either the crew, who loves Econ, or it means Crystal Gambit, that likes lose streaking early and just getting to that 50 breakpoint earlier. Those are the 2 compositions that I think are going to be most favored in this start.
All right, well, let's start to see what goal augments our players got for us. Holy heck, solo leveling and an Udyr from early on. If we're looking for statement beginnings, I think this is a great one.
Yeah, this has just been an auto-click broken augment in set 15 so far. It's very difficult to take out a character that has 800 extra HP, and you have to remember all the fighters now have innate Omnivamp, so it makes their stage 2 very, very stable. And we've seen a lot of fast 9s starting from this angle.
Well, for Haruru, we've got ourselves a spicy start as well. 2 Gangplank from the beginning of the game. Going to be rocking out a little bit of true damage as well. It looks like the only thing that's missing from Haruru's equation are early items.
Yeah, looking at Haruru's start, I'm just going to pencil in GP, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be correct. On the other hand, he did pick, I believe this is called Overwhelming Evil, so he is going to be committing himself to a reroll composition, most likely GP in this case.
Yes, I mean, we'll have to see. You've noticed the extra gold coming in, and of course the extra resources means that we will have more for our players to spend. If you see Udyr just walking through these boards, the solo leveling, extra XP during this stage, while you've only got the 1 unit to work with, it means you can really maximize your return. But what could it be without even having an emblem? YYDM is going to Crystal Gambit.
Yeah, because this is loose subscription in the further stages, stage 3, stage 5, total you have about a 1 in 3 chance to get a spatula, so it's actually very high odds to play towards 7 Crystal Gambit. Also, if you're given this start, you might as well go for it. So I think at least YYDM this time around, he's found a really good path to go for it. And what we have to pay attention to is, are there any players out there that are going to full sell and try to stop that streak?
Well, I mean, yeah, in terms of the balance of importance here, as we do check in with Ironbog, who, of course, does have the range extension for the Gangplank already. So it actually might be good enough to take on the solo leveling Udyr, even with all the healing built in as well. We've got the stacked up duelists. The DPS is, I think, just about good enough. It's going to be tight.
He's not going to get to the next cast, and Ahoe is going to miss out on 3 EXP. The one thing I hate when I'm playing this augment is when your EXP ticks over into the odd numbers. Then every time you level, you're like, oh, wait a minute, should I level? Am I over-leveling? A really good stop for him, and a little bit concerning for Twisted Minds now that we see all the GPs that we've spotted so far are on one team.
I was going to say, we're contesting GPs with ourselves for the Flash Wolves, but I suppose it's certainly going to discourage the opposing team from diving into the line.
Because what you can do is you can transition through the GP, and once I know that I'm ready for the roll down, I can sell you all of my GPs.
Yes, you've kept that under your control.
Yep.
We saw that from the previous games, that once you've got the resources on board or on bench, the other team just can't know when exactly you're planning to make your move.
Takes a lot of scouting to keep up on that tempo. Meanwhile, for K-Bao, he does have Salvage Bin, most likely going to play towards a tempo game plan, slam all of his items as soon as possible, and go for a leveling up strategy. Flancy, on the other hand, he is still keeping his options very, very open here. Looks like Battle Academia into Prodigy is the most likely avenue. But, with not a lot of items being given here, it's still pretty hard to see.
Yeah, we'll see who ends up coming out of this one looking good. Because we mentioned before, there are some players who are in need of getting that early slammed item to keep their board strength up. Do you want to know where we are in terms of HP overall? Ironbog, of course, we saw running the Gangplank from before, and Flancy currently leading the field. Mentioned, of course, the Prodigy is being used as a strong early offering.
Absolutely. We saw him play a very good game, I believe, last time with the Heart of Gold going strong tempo early. That's always one of the finds I try to look with my power up. If I'm full win streaking and I get given 2 gold every round.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds
That's basically
nice.
an augment by itself.
It pretty much is. It allows you to level for free on 2-1 and 2-5 and just have amazing tempo in the lobby. Now we're going to be taking a look at the 2 loose streakers in the lobby so far. Achun here with the hefty rolls, most likely going for some Jin Mundo action. On the other hand, YYDM. If I'm looking at the board so far, I do believe that Achun would win. So we're going to see if he does some sudden sells. If he wants to lose, he can sudden sell. There he goes.
Did. All right, so talk to me about the hefty rolls, because certainly from seeing it the little times I have to be able to play with it myself, it's a lot of extra HP across the board, as long as you can put in some serious rerolling during the game.
Yeah, and I think a great target for that would be the Mundo. He scales off of HP and has additional HP every time he casts his passive as well. So typically that's the direction that we've seen it, just going into it. And throughout the tournament so far, it's been a stable top 4 composition. Doesn't necessarily win you the game, but provides good tempo.
Yeah, and of course, we talked a lot about the first places, possibilities from before, and of course they are very, very important, but it's so much of what is being put together there, as we will see. YYDM gets a chance to double down. Both lost streaks for both teams are still intact. Yeah,
and this is why a lot of top players want to put in the Crystal Gambit later. You want to get the double down on 3-2, and that way other people can't grief your composition. But because he put the Crystal Gambit early, he now runs the risk of going into Achun, who's already sold down to 3 units. YYDM has to sell as well. Let's see if he tries to corner. They duck
each other.
Yeah.
So both of them keep their lost streaks intact, which means they get to the PV round. Last time we saw that the money was being fully controlled from both sides. We might even end up with full loss streaks and full win streaks intact for both teams.
So this is a really unique situation. I know we've been talking about hitting a lot, but for Achun now, he actually doesn't want to hit. He wants to keep open, make sure he breaks the double down coming in from YYDM. If he does find the Jin, it gets a little bit awkward.
Well, I mean, Achun and YYDM, again, they've kept the loss streak intact. Ironbog, though, has not kept his win streak intact, so we have got the skewing of power towards Twisted Mind. For anyone, of course, who wasn't here for Game 1, Twisted Mind's, it was a hell of a showing, but ultimately an absolutely explosive ending.
Now let's see if the players can find good items. Remember, this is only a 2-item start, so it's very hard to come back. And he does hit right off the bat. Jeweled Gauntlet already. This is one of the core items for Yuumi. The other one would be the Hextech Gunblade. So if you can get another rod and a sword here, it would be picture perfect.
Yeah, I mean, well, certainly with the caretakers to be able to have that extra bit of choice as to what you've got come in. I really like this for Twisted Minds at this point to be able to say, yeah, we've got a degree of predictability, even in a loot sub, which will turn into even more money. We know roughly what's coming.
Oh, this seems really good for Hafty rolls. All that econ that can be translated directly into power. And Achen does look like he is giving up on trying to break YYDM's streak. He already put a, what we saw was a Shen 2 onto his board. So most likely not going to be chasing that avenue anymore. And we'll have to see what YYDM pivots into later on. For now, though, Flancy, I think great find on these items. Getting the Jewel Gauntlet allows you to play Sorks, allows you to play with the Battle Academia as well. So he has a lot of options, and it still looks like the strongest board so far.
Yeah, the solo leveling board from before, of course. You know, I kept some options open. Do notice we've got a suspicious-looking Kasante on the bench up there for Ahoy.
Yeah, Ahau, he's intentionally sacking this round. Probably knew that he would be running into his teammate right there. And already fishing for the all-out. Now, there usually is something like a 2% chance you don't find the all-out and makes the comp unplayable. But
well, talk to me about the all-out, because that isn't something we've been seeing a ton of, because again, you say it can miss. How does it kind of fit into the general field of comps we've been seeing played so far?
I think it's a very good composition, but the problem in 4v4 is that since everyone's cap is lower, a lot of people are actually using Kasante to fill in their front line. Both the Sork composition and also the BA Prodigy composition are using Kasantes. So I think the comp is better than its AVP shows. Currently, it's sitting at 5.8, but I think it's actually a much better macro comp.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's two things, isn't it? You know, a low AVP is showing us either that it's not a good comp or that it's a risky composition that can go poorly.
Yes, I think it's a composition where a lot of people are sniping each other's main tanks, and then you have the off-tank and Kansante just kind of waving towards you, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll take it. And the all-out player just starts to cry.
Well, speaking of players we need to check in, HN, of course, we mentioned before, trying to battle for that lost streak. He's actually still kept it intact, but this crew board has been really coming together. We've got the 2-3 stars already, so we're getting the XP off rolls and the free roll per round.
The best thing that can happen to a crew board is to get the 2-3 stars online at the same round. He hits missing connections and get both of them there. So if you get the first one, you know, you get EXP when you roll, but the second one is the real moneymaker. The second one, the free roll, is basically 2 gold every round. And that just means his tempo is going to be unstoppable.
Well, so talk to me about, again, you know, we're trying to try and put everything into its context here. We were talking a little bit with Tamara backstage about like where the crew is as a comp overall, and that a lot of teams were, if they saw the crew being played by the other team, they'd jump in it themselves to try and make sure the comp couldn't work out.
Yeah, the crew so far doesn't have the best of AVP, but like you said, it's because the other teams are trying to contest it. If it's only played uncontested, then I think it's one of those comps that can definitely win out, especially in a situation like this, where it is loot subscription, you're getting tons of gold, you're most likely getting a spatula that can then be turned into a strategist emblem. Now, there's a lot of win-out conditions for the comp.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about having the extra gold coming in. It's such a difference for the crew between when they're activated and when they are not. They're coming back in with Ironbog, who's been rolling for days, has got that Gangplank online, with the Quicksilver as well. It certainly just shut off one of the avenues to deal with that Gangplank by CCing him, even if, as we can see right now, he's not as strong as he could be.
Yeah, he doesn't fare that well into the all-out. The problem with Gangplank is that he has a spattering of damage. He targets the lowest health with his pistol shot skill. So it's very hard matchup to go up against that one.
Right, so we come to the carousel. I can't help taking my eyes off YYDM, who's been our crystal player throughout the game, down to 41 HP. We know, of course, Flash Wolves, they love to end this series in this game, and it looks like YYDM will be the vessel for taking the high risk, high reward.
So we can check his cash outs. He did double down on 3-6, so it should be he should be opening up his chest right now. And we're going to finally figure out where he's going to go. If I'm looking at his items right now,
we are.
It's kind of hard to tell. He doesn't have a starting item, like a mana item.
Okay, so going for the 200s. What have we got? Okay, artifact. All right. I mean, it seems workable.
I'm not sure that it really is. There's no artifact that jumps up to me that's an instant win
I was
condition.
looking at that Volley Bear and the Prowler's Claw, but it doesn't end up being that in the end. So Wit's
Yeah.
End coming in. Maybe we're just going straight for Prodigy.
It could be, but he would be contesting the top HP player in the lobby right now in Flancy that's also onto that line. So I'm still not certain where he's going. And I do want to mention this about YYDM. He is known as the most crazy reroller. He rerolls the weirdest compositions that we have ever seen. And he's really good at doing it. His career stats, he has, in a lot of sets, below 50% top 4 rate, but over 20% first place rate. He's kind of the mad genius type.
I mean, that's what you need in a team, though. You can't have just a whole bunch of top 4 players because you can't get those top ones. You need someone who can make it work, and that's always going to come with consequences. We did see a little glimpse of the Cassante board there on the other side, already starting to put in a bit of a shift. As YYDM, the 2-star Volley Bear comes in. We've not seen much of this guy, but he can go off big.
Well, I guess he has to play it. He's on 30 HP right now, so he doesn't really have a choice. A key thing here is he actually missed the 210 cash out. The 210 has a 30% chance for a spatula, and that gives you straight into the Crystal Gambit line. So that's a big thing that he missed right there. I'm not even sure he's played this comp himself. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Serious Slam, very good power up. The best one so far. The Slam actually is an AoE effect. So it's a lot of damage on the enemy backline if you can get there.
We're not seeing too many item slams coming through here. We've still got 4 components on the bench. I mean, we've got Keepers and the 2-star Volley Bear in place. I mean, YYDM, as you said, really needs to be turning the corner here. Executions on the other side from Shunga, not one which we see too often as it's kind of own composition, but enabled by the trait augment.
Yeah, Serious Slam is still there. Can he take down that Katarina? That's going to be the big thing. He might buy himself an extra round to check out what items he can build into, but no. The Katarina with the Executioner's Guillotine is still going to take him out right there. So I hate to say it, but once again, it looks like Flash Wolves in a lot of trouble as their HPs are slipping across the board.
Oh boy, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You're always playing to the percentages here. There's never any guarantees that any of this stuff is going to work out, but if you're in this kind of position in which the Flash Wolves are at the moment, you say, okay, we were banking a lot on YYDM being a big player for us going on. When that doesn't work out, how do you kind of account for that as a team?
I'm just going to pray for a Prismatic again. This is what happened last game as well. You know, Flash Wolves looked like they were not going to be able to hang on, and suddenly Morkdog just said, hey, have your picking of artifacts. You know, you have a Gwen 2 on level 8. Win the series. So that doesn't happen either.
Oh boy, well, we've got one more round before we see if that happens. We've had gold and silver so far. But yeah, a lot of eyes on YYDM. Kababo over on the other side, building up what's looking like a more traditional approach. We've got a very early Gwen kicking in for him. I mean, it's got to be making him smile right now to be back on a more familiar line.
And YYDM finally settles into the Battle Academia line as well, but he's missing a lot of offensive items. He had a surplus of belts, so I'm not sure this is going to be enough on stage 4. He's going to run into K Balbao, who's still sitting on a 1-star, 1-cost carry, so this should allow him to get a bit of a breather here.
Yeah, not as strong as it could be otherwise, because you're right, 22 HP for YYDM. Can't be overstated how close he is to going out in 8th place. But the Cassante, you talked about him being stolen away. He will be picked up for this board to ride just a little bit of frontline grunt.
Yeah, and that's always been the problem for players like Ahau. How are you going to hit the Cassante? It's been incredibly difficult this tournament so far. And now we're going to the final augment. It is going to be gold, so a lot of combat augments potentially coming in here. YYDM needs to hit Rod. No, doesn't find it. Ooh, no spell crit on the back line. That is going to hurt.
Yeah, we've got the duplicated item coming in as well, just to make it stick even further to show you did not get what you want to, and I've certainly felt that myself. You know, you get into the crate, you say, don't worry, I'm sure I can find a Rod somewhere.
Yeah, and we're also going to have to pay attention to the other players here, because, Flash Wolves right now, 6, 7, 8. Haruru, he is evil beyond measure, but he needs to hit 3 stars for that augment to actually work out. I'm not sure he's going to be able to hit his Gangplank. We saw the Katarina player holding it. And no, K-Balbo, how is that fair? He's got a Gwen 2 again on level 8.
He's got the magic touch, what can I say?
No way, no way.
That is absolutely absurd. I mean, we don't have the range extension this time, so it's just a regular Gwen too. You know, the kind you might see while out for a stroll one day. But I mean, with the Edge of Night as well, she has got a lot of power, but on the other side, we've actually got something a little unusual. Ironbog bringing out there, managing to take that board down thanks to the sniper's focus. Up to the top though, Harry on a 7-round win streak. The Cassante, it is all out. This is what we were looking for, and apparently the contest wasn't enough.
Yeah, Ahawe playing this so cleverly. He is not over-rolling for the Cassante. He knows that his team is in a dominant position in terms of HP, so he's willing to just use his gold to hold other players' cards. They're basically doing a squeeze strategy by forcing Flash Wolf players out into 7th and 8th, and then, you know, we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole thing as well. It's something that's so unusual because, you know, you're playing a regular game with TFT. You honestly don't necessarily care who ends up, in 7th or 8th place overall. But here, it's massively important because of the doors it closes on the overall game plans for these teams.
Ironbog is also going to be in free fall mode starting from right now. He's trying to play around a Viego 2.
I was trying to figure out what that was for a while because I was like, no, surely not.
Yeah, so HP situation is not going to be improving. I think once again, the hopes of Flash Wolves. This is giving me deja vu, but once again, it's going to be on that Gwen 2 from K-Bobo.
I mean, if we squint really hard, maybe you could believe that Viego was a 2-star Gwen with those items and putting off an absolute shift. But you're right, instead, things are starting to fall away. Flancy and Ahawe are now in #1 and #2 position in the lobby.
A 20 HP gap between top 2 and top 3. I was saying this in the previous game. I felt like Twisted Mind's strategy was very sound. They signaled to each other and the enemy team as well what they were playing very early on. They could optimize their lines easier with all the itemization. In the meantime, Flash Wolves, for me, I feel like this is their kryptonite. They're just too flex. they're flex players their entire career, but sometimes it's in 4v4, it becomes very difficult to pick your items correctly.
Yes, I mean, it's always going to be a trade-off, isn't it? You know, the flexibility versus just the easier game to play if you've got that locked-down line.
Yeah.
Sugar, though, looks to be building around the Kali with Executioner 5 in play. He's been on a loss streak for a while, but up to level 9. I mean, this is a bit unusual, but maybe it can work.
I like this adaptation because we saw that Ironbog was holding on to 7 Katarinas, and he was just like, you know what? 5 Executioners, I would not recommend this comp in solo queue, but in 4v4, I think it's perfectly okay. It's a really smart thing to do. They understand that their win condition is just to ride out on Flash Wolves' HP bars.
And interesting, yeah, making some moves with the items there. We can see even with the Katarina, with the 3 items, and the Akali dancing through the backline, it's such an unusual way for a team fight to work, this kind of new experimentation in assassin design. But we see there just ripping apart the backline like it's nothing.
Yeah, Flancy, you know, he still has plenty of HP to play with, was top in the lobby, so I don't think he was rolling too hard necessarily, probably just natural that karma right there. In the other parts of it, what I think is interesting is that Flancy actually pivoted off the Battle Academia, so that explains why we saw YYDM stepping up into filling that role. Now we're taking a look at Haru's Evil Beyond Measure board, still so far away from the GP. He looks like he's in free fall. I think K-Balbal's board is actually the most important. He was building towards an Ash board, but afterwards he hit that Gwen 2, so I wonder where he's going to end up.
I do want to take a moment, just while this remains true, just to point out, we're talking about overall team positions. We see the Cassante ripping through. The entirety of Twisted Minds are in the top 4 right now. The entirety of the Flash Wolves are in the bottom 4. I don't think that's going to change this round as we end out stage 4.
The Flex Master is back. K-Balbal, salvage bin, full transition into a Sork contest.
Yes!
I mean, that's what salvage bin allows you to do. He was building Last Whisper Gwinsu's, and also, it's not called Guard Breaker anymore, I'm sorry.
Oh, Strike Break, I believe.
Striker's Flail. Striker's Flail is the correct item.
No, I was sorry, you're right, I was one behind the curve on the name there.
And he was able to full pivot to this one. So,
I mean, it is very much the pro player's augment, isn't it? To be like, I'm going to flex and show that whatever happens, I can just, do. I think especially in 4v4, I can do what the team needs me to do.
I gotta say it, I think he would break Twisted Minds. he would actually twist their minds, basically. If he is able to get out of a bad situation, go down to 20 HP, and then hit Gwen 2 and then find another win condition again. That would be obscene.
So if we talk about the EWC as a potential showcase of players, you were talking him up coming into Game 1. I didn't quite believe, but he did come through for the team. If he could do it twice in a row and be the big reason why the Flash Wolves move ahead, that would be the making of him.
Yeah, that would be an incredible story. I almost can't believe it myself. YYDM finally gets all the rods that he needs. He missed on his third augment, but was able to get compensated in the PvE round. So now sitting in a very strong position. And I also have to mention that he was gifted a Leona too. So there is a secondary win condition here if other players do not defend against it.
Let's see Haru with the mentor ball coming through. Of course, we can see the Yasuo is absolute menace, but he's not getting near the backline, so it's giving a lot of time. You can see how much the Yuumi stacks up and how much of a difference it makes if the Yasuo finds his target, for when the rounds he does not.
Yeah, this is unfortunate for Haru. If you look at YYDM's bench, he's not even using his artifact. He's just like, I want to keep you alive. I tried, but it didn't really work out. So unfortunately, we saw Haru. He was basically denied all of his game planks, had to pivot into the Mentors and Yone line, which is unfortunately just a far inferior line at this point.
All right, well, I'm still so fascinated by what Shunga has got going through here. Of course, again, the EWC's only global champion, only world champion playing in the entire field. He's bringing out something unusual. Haru, though, down to 7 HP. We're close to our first elimination.
Yeah, I think Haru is most likely going 8. He's on the wrong side here. He does have the range extension. The Yasuo is going to act like an assassin, but he doesn't find the Karma early on, and I think the burst damage is just going to be the end of him.
Ooh, yeah, he's down. That's going to be it. Unfortunately, the Kabuko is doing his best up in the corner, but it's not going to matter. So Flash Wall's the first one out. We have seen Shunga dropping down to 6 HP, though, so we're moving further away from blowout territory.
Ooh, and Iron Bog, his denial of the Katarina might have been a grave mistake once we saw the full Executioner pivot right here. He's now on 10 HP, and if he loses more HP than Shinga, that could mean it's almost impossible for Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves would need to 1-2 on just 42 combined HP to win this game.
I mean, it's infinite HP if you never lose a round, but the problem, of course, here is you've got your own teammate in the pool. You just need to somehow not kill.
That's the problem about trying to go 1-2 when you're low HP, is that most likely you're going to run into each other at some point. It doesn't look good for Iron Bog. In the meantime, coming in from Shunga, he's also getting somewhat decimated here. Can the Akali take off more of the opposing board? No.
That's Shunga down. And Iron Bog goes down as well.
If he goes 6, it's a good, decent win for Flash Wolves. Okay.
Okay, so we've got 7th for Shunga, Iron Bog in 6th place. So as long as YYDM can stay alive on 8 HP, everything's fine.
Yeah.
If he can't, the game's over instantly.
Exactly. Mathematically, if you have 3 players in the bottom 4, it is just over. Now, I'm very curious at who YYDM played in the previous round. He was one of the most stable boards that we've seen, but we also know that Battle Academia has a very hard cap on that composition. The reason being that you just don't use legendaries very well. Your legendary is Seraphine, while the Sorks, they get Gwen and Braum. So, very big difference.
Oh yeah, the trait web there is just absolutely obscene, and there's a reason why everyone is so happy to play them, certainly in the previous patches. YYDM, he's doing a little bit of fine-tuning on the power-ups.
Yeah, Resistance is the best one he can find. This is it's actually a semi-counter to Karma that does her damage and ticks. But I'm not sure it's enough to keep him alive. This round is pivotal. It could change the entire narrative. If he drops out, then that's it. Look at the positioning from the Akali. I don't think this is the right direction. It probably goes onto the left. No, it goes into the background directly.
Yeah, that's going to be ticking through. Every time she casts, she'll cast again. The Cassante with the Edge of Night does get dropped, but the backline is getting pinged every time by the Akali. There's not enough damage. YYDM keeps the hopes of the Flash Wolves alive.
He needs one more round, though. It's 8 HP. That was good positioning. The initial Akali didn't hit onto the Yuumi. He was able to position it on D6, so taking it 1 hex away from the corner and making sure the Akali doesn't get the insta-jump. but there's still one round he needs to survive in. And now he's going up against a lobby leader in Flancy, who is playing that Sork composition. Like we were talking about, Sork naturally kind of outcaps the Battle Academia board.
Yeah, I'm really looking to see where those big sorcery explosions come through.
Oh, he gets a ghost.
Yeah, it's a ghost version. So this is amazing news for the Flash Rolls, and especially Leona is positioned directly in front of the Karma. Means he won't be able to get those chain explosions off that decimate the board.
Yeah, that was really good positioning for his Leona. That does have resistance. It means that the Sork isn't going to get a lot of those secondary blasts that you were mentioning about.
So this will be YYDM moving into the top 4. No more elimination station. We're back into a more contested lobby.
All right, this time around, though, Flash Wolves, they do have a point deficit in the bottom side, so they need 1 and 3 to win. So YYDM, it's not, he can't put all of his hopes on K-Ball like he did in the previous game. He still needs to overtake Achin or Flancy.
I mean, it's not that much HP, certainly in stage 6 to try and deal with. But yeah, Kababo is roaring up the table again. I think, very much the making of him as a player in this series. So just starting out here in the EWC. Hopefully you have even more to show us as time goes on. But remember, Twisted Minds, 0 games so far. Flash Rolls, 1 in hand.
I think for YYDM, he's pretty much capped. But for Achin, I wanted to see the Twisted Fate. And as soon as I turn over, it's a 2-star Twisted Fate. This unit is so important for the crew because he allows you to do 15% true damage on your Star Cruiser. So getting that find was absolutely massive. I have to say that I think Achin has a better chance now against the capped Battle Academia board.
So yeah, for YYDM, there's no chance of relaxing. If he goes out now, the game is still over. So much has been put onto his shoulders, and he goes up against the crew board. That's a fully itemized Twisted Fate, a fully itemized Sivir in the back line. The crew is firing all cylinders, and surely it's stronger than what YYDM can put out.
Yeah, I don't think he has a shot right here. He's going to have to get really lucky to take that Sivir down early, but no, Yuumi goes for an adventure.
Oh, wow, the product is kicking through,
It's
and
a
it's
1v1.
alive! HN down to 2 HP! We're still fighting. Kababo is still undefeated for the Wolves up at the top, but it will not matter unless YYDM can stay alive just a round more.
And they don't face each other. K-Ball is going to go up against Achin. K-Ball, we knew he was probably the strongest player in the lobby. He could very well have taken down YYDM, so they dodge a secondary bullet. I thought that was already terrible team fight positioning. We saw the Yuumi just try to move across the board while taking damage. I was like, this is it.
Laser pointer.
Game 3. But no. How are these fights getting so close?
So Achin on the other side with the crew board. We'll keep our eyes on the right-hand side because that's the one that matters the most.
Yes.
YYDM, one more place. If you can take down Flancy, first and third place are still a possibility. It's looking like the Prodigies are not getting the front line cut through fast. That Leona is doing work. And as the Prodigy damage builds more and more, the last bit of damage from the Karma ticks away. One more bomb comes
the last
in.
shot! Who takes it? Who takes it? The last shot goes out. Did the Seraphine land or not? YYDM stays alive!
He's still alive!
The Seraphine clinched it! It was the final shot! I didn't even see who finally cleared out the back line.
Oh my gosh.
I thought the Frisbee of Death had it.
It looked like it. Up until the very tail end. You can see absolute calm on the face there as we're coming down to the wire. Remember, the Flash Wolves can still win this series here and now.
Are the underdogs going to clinch it? Are they going to prove that they're not canines, they're actually a wolf pack? It all comes down to this. Achin, he still has a shot.
Yeah,
if he goes
Achin,
first.
We've seen the crew has performed really highly. If Achin can lock down that first place, all of this work will have been for nothing. The Wolves will face each other on the side, just trying to make sure if YYDM can go out at this point, and it's still possible for the Wolves to win.
K-Ball has dropped 3 items on his board, but he could still accidentally win this. Okay, looks like they're not going to make such a massive mistake. Maybe! No, he takes out his teammate!
He's passed the baton to his teammate.
Okay.
It's going to be 1v1. Archen, of course, does not die to the ghost. Kababo, the hero of game one, the Primarch waiting to be brought onto the competitive stage, goes face to face. This could be the end of the series or the portal to game three.
I'm sorry, I got way too ahead of myself. That was the correct move. He has the better chance at capping out right there. I was just crazy because he took out 3 items. He took out 3 items, and I was like, oh, no. Okay, but this was the right move. They just need 1-3, so it's a 1v1 right now. The crew, level 9, 2-star on that Twisted Fate. But the problem with this composition is that it's actually very hard to deny backline directed damage. That's going to be the main thing here. We want to see where this Jarvan ends up and who this Karma targets. If the Karma targets one of the tank units without items, takes them out early, that's a lot of additional HP damage.
All right, let's hold our breath. Kababo still has enough HP maybe to deny a loss. So let's make sure HN with the Gwen, Chibi on the far side of the field. Remember, the Twisted Fate has been getting stronger and stronger as the ball goes through. There's the stun. It doesn't land into anything significant.
Lands.
The Jarvan is gone immediately. The front lines start to trade off, but the Karma can't quite cut through. Kababo takes the L, will not die this round. It's still an open question. We're 1 round away from PvE, but we will not get there.
That was already a very good situation for K-Bao. He actually got the Braum toss early on the enemy main tank. That means that he can start working on the other targets, the softer targets in the composition, but it was still not enough. So he needs to do some more positioning tricks right now. I think he might have started on the wrong side. I expect to see him shift him around. It's going to be a last-second APM check.
Oh my gosh. So remember, whoever wins this first place wins this game, but if it is Archen, the series is going to be over. If it is Kababo, the series will be over in favor of the Flash Wolves. We'll see one more time. Archen
Shifting sides.
But keep an eye on that Jarvan so closely again.
Yeah, and the Braum finds the Malphite again, but this might not be the right direction to toss him in. He tosses him back into the back line, which means the Gwen goes back. What are you doing,
down, and we're going to a game 3. 1 game apiece. We deserve the series this good.
What was that Braum doing? What are you going? That was not a very good wrestling move from the Luchador.
He was doing it for the content, let's be honest. Pro wrestling, it's about putting on a show, and that was an incredible show.
That's what my supports look like. They just tossed the enemy tank right in front of me.
They're doing it for the content. What can I say? Sandstorm, I mean, welcome back into things. I know you were up here for a while because that game was on a knife's edge for such a long time.
Listen, the game, our minds, and then this series has been twisted. Twisted minds, strike back. We're going to game 3. Like you said, this is what we deserve to see in this series. And my lord, Kabao was so close to achieving something so glorious. But Twisted Minds refuse to go down without a fight. And they will take us to the 3rd game in this series. Mordog, I'll say thank you to that. I'll say thank you for that. But I have a serious question. Seriously? Look at me. Hold on. 2 times, Kabao has ended up with a 2-star Gwen. You want to talk about that? What?
Hey, he's just got a magnetic personality. Bear in mind, this is only the beginning, the first day of the EWC, and we are seeing games of this caliber. These are the best team players in the world coming together to show us what 4v4 is capable of.
I have to say, Twisted Mind restored justice to the land. There is no way K-Baba gets away with that 2 times in a row. I would have hated to see it. And I have to say again, even though these games are so close, I felt like the Twisted Mind strategy was better. Once again, in Stage 3 and Stage 4, they had massive HP leads, only for K-Baba to erase them, which is kind of weird.
And YYDM holding on with that 8 HP for so long. That was an insane comeback, I have to say, from the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, we see it here. It was his story throughout the lobby. He made sure it was possible for the team to come back. If he had slipped even a little bit, then it would have been over already.
Yeah, and like the Malzahar at the end clutching it once, and then you look at again the one that we weren't so close or weren't so certain about. I believe it was this one.
Seraphine.
Yeah, with the Seraphine bomb at the end. And I was looking at a reaction. I was like, wait, hold on. I don't know who won. Who took it? Someone explain to me. What is going on? Why are we waiting for the animation? But my lord, this is what we were talking about. This is what TFT is all about, and it's absolute insanity in this third series. And we still have one more. We still have one game.
We've been good this year.
I mean, TFT has been treating us very, very well. I have to say that. But I want more of this, and also the fact that we were 2 Leonas away from seeing a 3-star Leona. I know there was no way that was going to happen, but listen.
Say that. So we're just enjoying the brawl action again.
Yeah, the Braum really did not help out in that situation.
He thought, Braum obviously thinks you like a tank, maybe you'd like another tank, to come look after
just
your
have
backline.
another one.
Yeah. Imagine if that Frisbee was on that Sivir. That would have been it for Twisted Minds right there, but Braum had other ideas. Whew.
And I have to say, like, I watched the Jarvan getting closer and closer to that backline, and then jumping to the complete opposite direction. I was like, yep. And that's, they're right there. They're right there, right next to you. Just look left. But no. Just got to go to the furthest one over there in that direction and then just change the complete fight. But at the end of the day, it means we get one more game in this series, and that's what we want to see. And honestly, I'm not sure what more we can ask from these players. But Kabao, you know what? One more time, I beg you. One more time, a 2-star Gwen, please, thank you.
I mean, I think at this point, he's pretty much staked the unit as his own in the game itself. It's like we see from other players across history. When you've made this big of an impact on the unit, you know he's going to do it again.
Yeah, and on the other side for Flash Wolves, I think they just need to decide their compositions earlier again. This time, again, we saw 2 players uncertain of their direction. They're finding for direction on stage 4 and losing so much optimization. I really think that's what sunk them. I honestly could see a world where it was an easy 2-0 for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, well, right now, they have got to be feeling good after that one, because I want to say, not only would have they would have been going to the losers bracket or just, one more game and they would have been eliminated. But I have to say, winning in this kind of fashion, especially the way that it ended in that 1v1, that on its own definitely revitalized the team. And they have got to be going into that third game with, obviously, just feeling amazing. And single-handedly seeing that carry towards the end, not once, but twice at Chen being able to secure that, fantastic. And for now, we got to give him a break. So we're going to be heading over for a very short break. I swear, if you go anywhere after seeing these 2 games, I don't know what I need to show you to convince you that you have to be here right now watching these games. We'll be back in a few. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, I know that we've had the game of the day or series of the day that started off the day. No. I disagree. This series right here, this is the series of the day. Flash Wolves, Twisted Minds, absolutely blowing our minds so far. First game, Flash Wolves, 2-star Gwen, clutch from Kebabao. We almost saw it happen again in the second series of the day, but Twisted Minds decided, nah, we want one more game. And that's exactly what we are going to get. But you know what? I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I know. I still want to see it. I still want to see that 2-star Gwen. Counterfeit.
I mean, this is Group C. This is the opening match of Group C.
Oh, good lord.
You're absolutely right. This is the Group 2C, and we get a third game. Again, as we talked about before, we deserved something this good to start off the EWC.
Yeah. Every fight coming down to the wire. Brother Braum deciding it all for us at the very end for that. And I just want to say, I did not expect this result. I thought it was going to be a bit more lopsided. We have the only TAC round champion on Twisted Mind. We have 5 regional champions from CN region against the 2 of only Ironbog and that squad. But Flash Wolves are proving to be tenacious, to be very difficult to take down.
Yeah, on paper, especially considering how the Flash Wolves did at the ACL, this shouldn't be remotely this close. But there's just something magical that happens on LAN. You get these players together, you start inspiring each other, they start sparking off of each other, and now in a position to really reset all expectations, the Flash Wolves particularly.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, the atmosphere, just with having the players, without even having a crowd so far for our first day of a competition here for TFT at the EWC, it is absolutely electric. And now, I want to see what's going to happen with this third and final game. Will Flash Wolves be taking the series 2-1 with an upset in this third series of the day, or will Twisted Minds prove what they can do here in Riyadh and continue on with a win at the end of this series? There's no point in asking for predictions, because predictions are out the window at this point. I don't want that. I just want a fantastic game, just like the ones that we've had in the first and second series.
That's a prediction worth having.
Yeah, you know what? Exactly. So I'm going to see exactly what that augment is, and it is going to be 2 component anvils, and I'll leave you that with these 2 casters, Clement and Counterfeit. Boys, take it away. The third game of the series.
For the final time coming in, Twisted Minds and the Flash Wolves. We didn't know what to expect coming in, but what we've been given has been magnificent. Only one of these teams gets to go forward to the upper part of Group C's bracket. We've got to remember, 2 wins gets you out of groups entirely and onto the playoffs with the best possible seed.
And unfortunately, if you stumble, currently Fnatic is waiting in the loser brackets in Group C for them as well, so they'll have something to look forward to. I will say for this game, the variance is finally dying down. We had loot subscription, we had artifacts, but now we're going back to 2 components, and I think this is going to be a much more tempo-focused game. With more items early on, I think a lot of players will be deciding their compositions early. It could be beneficial for Flash Wolves to kind of get more of a structured game plan going in there, but from the series we've seen so far, tempo seems to have been in Twisted Mind's corner.
Well, I mean, if we're looking at tempo, Kababa, of course, who's really been making his name in this series, finds the Gangplank. Immediately, we've got looking like we've got some pretty solid Gangplank item choices to come into, and a second Gangplank. I mean, Kababa could be off to the races before the races even really started.
And we were talking about maybe hitting the Gwen 2 on level 8. How about hitting the Gangplank 2 on stage 2? That would also be pretty amazing.
I mean, it's not impossible by any means. Ironbog looking good here as well with a stand-alone Dr. Mundo locking down the front line. Oh, boy. So, again, let's go, let's assume there's going to be some folks drop in who didn't see the first 2 games. What's most front of mind for you, Clement, coming into Game 3 now that both teams have won a game each?
I would just encapsulate it by saying that Twisted Mind had the HP advantage throughout most of these 2 games, and then Gwen 2 from K Balbao into a Sork pivot actually made the games incredibly, incredibly close. Now we're going to be taking a look at the 2-1 augments. Ironbog already committing to most likely a Jin board here. He's trying to look for the bow, and there he does find it. So the Gwinsu is going to be available. He's going to have an offense item and a defensive one.
Yeah, I like that choice. Again, you're saying how different this game will be from what we saw in games 1 and 2. Our players much more back in their comfort zones. You'd have to imagine, if we look at this on paper, Twisted Minds, they've got the greater level of achievement overall. They've been at the higher levels of play. When it comes to just a more standard game of 4v4 TFT, surely that's going to be putting Twisted Minds ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. However, one thing I will say for Flash Wolves is that they actually have the recent performance edge. Ironbog has gone further in the recent TAC rounds, as well as YYDM going into the finals in Magic and Mayhem. They haven't climbed the peak like Shrinka has, but they definitely have a lot of the recent experience coming in from the more, the sets that we've been playing.
Well, Harry, as you do see, a surprise Kalista coming through. We've got, if we're talking about Gangplanks here, we've got a very nice item set for Harry coming in with the Quincy's Rage Blade already completed and the Sniper's Focus as well. So we're definitely getting back into more familiar territory as we've got some worth the wait going on here for Shunga.
I wonder what it is. It looks like it's most like Ezreal or Syndra are the 2 potential ones. I think it was Ezreal, actually. But we'll see shortly after.
There we go, Garen.
Oh, Garen.
Okay. This doesn't seem like this would be as optimal as maybe it would have been had it been one of the backline choices.
Yeah, I think the backline choices are much easier to play around. I think this is more of a stage 3 tempo option, but in the end, the items are probably still going to Leona. So, I agree with you. It's a little bit better if it was one of the others.
I suppose, we could maybe just see it being used for economy instead of trying to get the Garen up to 3-star, let alone 4-star, especially seeing on the other side from YYDM. Did decide to put his destiny into Mortdog's hands and got himself a little bit of an AP start. Looks like for Shunga, though, I think we're worth the wait, of course, especially, you've got yourself a solid enough start to the game. Yeah,
so there are some minor contests here. Flancy locked his comp into Katarina, and we do have Battle of Academia coming in, as we just saw right there, for another Twisted Mind member. So it's going to be interesting to see how they pivot around each other. If you look at these items, he's definitely going to... He's staying in this line. He's not going anywhere. So the Leona's Rakons, it's going to be interesting to see how the players kind of communicate. Sometimes you're forced to play semi-contested with your own teammates. So how you want to schedule those roll downs are very important. So a lot of the teams would say the players in the better position roll downs first. They filter the pool a little bit for the opposing player, or it could be the other way around where you want the player on lower HP to stabilize. So a lot of comms are necessary.
All right, checking back in with Howie, and of course we mentioned on the side, his Rage Blade, Sniper's Focus certainly seems to have a pretty strong direction in terms of his items. We'll be able to beat out Flancy, who, you have to admit, is on a loss streak right now. I like the Kalista in here in this kind of setup, just because we've seen from the rounds before, very good at picking out the individual units to soften these losses.
Yeah, she's just an overstated unit. Very hard to transition out of because the current lines that you have are not that optimal. But on stage 2, she's just king. And if I had to venture a gambit, I would say that Ahawe, with that sniper's focus, is playing GP.
Yep.
The one thing I love about our series that we've casted is GP has not been that dominant because of the Prismatics and the loot subscription.
Yes, they've just been overshadowed. Even while he's definitely, cast his shadow across the series, it's been, with the much higher end comps. So as we come to the first carousel here, Ironbog and Shunga are currently one player apiece, undefeated.
Yeah, we saw Ironbog going with the Jin Mundo line right here, and unfortunately unable to find that Gnar 2. That would have really made that stage 2 win streak safer. He's already leveled up to 5. In the meantime, Chunga, the other full win streak player here, taking a look at his rolls on the Thief's Gloves. I don't think these are terribly good rolls, but early on in the fight, Titans can be a lot of value.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to position the... I thought maybe we were going to see 2 Garens being played there, but yeah, I think given the items that have been rolled, falling back and maybe hoping to get into a position where it could conceivably work out. They won't be playing against each other in this round. I think it should be enough to keep both of the win streaks intact.
Wow, Achen actually taking climb to the top. Now, there was a lot of theory craft on this augment regarding the solos, and people generally considered it to be broken in 4v4. You know what your next matchup is going to be, and you can coordinate with your teammates to keep your streaks like they just did.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's expand on that further because it's so rare, kind of a future site like Augment, because, as you said, your future matchups, but it also means your teammates can eliminate one from their pool, which presumably means, massively better control over the game overall.
Yeah, for 4v4, this augment should be absolutely broken. The only thing you have to worry about is your HP control, because obviously you're going to run into stronger and stronger players, and sometimes that can just, you can be an early exit for you if you don't have a stable board. On the other hand, we have the GP contest. Now that we're going more to a normal tempo game plan, I believe GP is going to come back as king here. So K-Baba going to be on that route contesting Aha.
I will say as well, considering who you're going to be playing against, another aspect of that. Sorry, I'm just so excited about seeing this all being played. Is that when you're going to be playing against your teammates as well as a further way to manipulate your matchups.
Yeah, so there's a lot of decisions that you could do. I think one of the most clever things I heard from Falcons was that actually, because this set requires so much mechanical ability to transition, a lot of times you want to transition when you want to borrow HP to your teammates, when you want to lend your HP. So that could be a perfect way to set that up. You want to lend to someone, you have that future sight, you have to climb to the top, when you're playing them, and you can have a slow transition turn, achieving multiple objectives at the same time.
So we've gotten to the end of stage 2. A couple of flash wars, Haruru and Ironbog in control at the moment. We've got... I would say that it looks like the flash wars are coming a little bit off the worst. We've got 3 players on the low HP bands, and 2 of them being the Wolves.
I think Flash Wolves and Haruru and Ironbog are actually top 2. So yeah, might be. I think they're in the HP lead actually for now. But can they keep it? That's kind of the big question. They do have a lot of contests on the AP lines. So the interesting thing is that there's 2 players that took high voltage, and one of them was not willing because they went Golden Destiny into high voltage. So it's going to be interesting to see how they pivot around each other, who's going to play the Sork line, who's going to play the Battle Academia line that's also heavily contested by Shunga. That's going to be a very big question.
All right, we'll keep our eyes closely on how things develop further. So we got a couple, we were talking about before, right back at the beginning of the day, the 3-star 1 cost coming in. As Shunga will intentionally weaken his board. Not going to play the Garen for this round. Make sure he loses against Ahawe.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this setup is that he can lose very precise amounts. He can make sure to manipulate his board to only lose single units. Now, that can also backfire on you if you're not very careful. But, I trust these players to have a great judge, especially when they know the matchup, about how to position and how to minimize their HP losses.
I like the Ezreal we saw there as being, a very reliable, much, like we saw with the Callisto before. He builds up, he kills off 1 or 2 units, then you're out of trouble. Let's bring more gold into the mix as well. Do you remember we started with a component ambush, so our players' boards were a little stronger than they might have been otherwise, but we're still much more back in regular TFT territory.
And Flancy is going to start his roll down onto 3-2. Has already lost a sizable chunk of HP on a 6 loss streak, so has to stabilize on this stage. So big question is who else is going to be rolling with him. There is a GP contest on the left side on K-Bao's board as well, and he managed a 2-star and is going to stabilize right here. Not going to go any further while also holding on to 2 Katarinas.
Yeah, and I like the setup we've got here. They've got the Reigning Golden here to double down on that economic advantage from Gangplank's side of things. The plot armor as well to provide him a little bit more time to get the work done. Having 4 Mentor activated at level 6 is pretty extreme.
Is this K-Bao's birthday? Why is he high rolling every single game? That is...
He heard you talking about it before. He's like, I gotta live up to this.
Okay, that's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy day for K-Bao. Let's see if he can keep it up. He's going to go into his teammate and Haruru. And Haruru looks like he's going to settle on the Sork line. We're talking about how the AP lines were going to shape up between these 3 players. And looks like that's going to be the direction. Whew.
Very nice.
Okay, let's see if Stringa continue to lose it. No, Stringa is preserves his HP well, and now is going to go on. Achin with the climb the ladder.
Yes, so we can see, of course, from his point of view that he's going to be up against Kabao in the next round, of course, because we benefit from the climbing the ladder as well in that kind of respect to get the extra vision across. I mean, I like, Achin's certainly still built a pretty respectable board, knowing he's going to be facing up against such strong opponents.
It's Achin's turn now. He's hit the Karma. Let's go.
All right.
Just like the Karma discs, Karma comes in circles, you know? Sometimes K-Ball gets it, sometimes it has to go to Twisted Mind's side.
Well, it's certainly overdue. So as we come close to the midpoint of stage 3, he's looking pretty good. The slamming in place for that extra XP and a pretty solid looking front line to make sure that this Gnar does a lot of work.
Yeah, this slamming is pretty interesting because I think it means that he's going to be pivoting away from the low cost rerolls to go more into something like the Ash, perhaps, coming in with these items. So this is just a beautiful kind of tempo play here. It's a top 4 line, and you can also lend your HP later on to your teammates. This should be Twisted Mind's stage in stage 3 here. They have the worth the wait online. They have the 2-cost rerolls coming in, and also the additional Karma here that could be huge.
Oh yeah, I mean, we know the difference between the Karma 1 and Karma 2. I think Sorceress is such a fascinating comp to see being played just because of how explosive it is, how the chain reactions again and again. You win by a mile or you lose by a mile.
And Achin gets it. He's sitting on the Karma pair already. So
that's crazy.
The amount of pressure that Twisted Mind is going to exert here is going to be unbearable. And I'm really worried about YYDM because he's forced to play an AP line with that high voltage that he rolled earlier on. But I'm not sure where he's going to go. Katarina is taken. There's 2 Sork players. There's a Battle Academia player. Where does YYDM end up again?
It's so fascinating that the Destiny augments are being played at these kind of events just because of these kind of situations. But there we go, the Katarina 3 is online. We know how much hurt she can lay down in a hurry.
Even with all the denial efforts, he still manages to hit. There's a lot more 2-cost rerolls being played so far, but that's still an incredibly early Katarina. I play in my solo queue. I don't have 2-star Kat on stage 4. But
and she's going to be so hard to put down. Double survivability, the Bloodthirster and the Edge of Night. And as soon as she gets on the back line, I mean, Huru with the Ari has got at least a unit that theoretically can take her down by just sheer burst. But in this case, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling to find the win conditions across these boards right now. Twisted Mind just feels like they're going to run Flash Wolves out the gym. They've just hit way too much. They have 2 3-star units already. They're sitting on a Karma pair for Achin. How are Flash Wolves going to... They basically have to out-high roll at this point to get back on track.
I mean, this is certainly a lot earlier in the game that you're saying this, and we saw in our previous games, with the diagnosis of destruction coming in. But you're right, the evidence is there before our eyes. It's not... it's not quite as extreme as we saw when all of one team was in the top 4, but it's very close.
Yeah, 3 members of Twisted Minds now taking the top of the ladder. K-Bobo is the one that looks like he stabilized the most, and he's only 1 off GP. Finds it!
Nice!
That might be the answer here. The most dominant composition. The other thing that this composition really needs is to hit that Kabuko 3. It's actually more important than the Udyr, even though the Udyr does have the duelist trait. Kabuko provides the most amount of CC on this composition. He has a 4 hex stun. that you can see on your screen right now.
And this, we can see on the other side that this was a contested line that was being pushed through here, even if not majorly so. But I mean, the Gangplank 3, the Midas touch as well for another way to build on the economy. Just tons and tons of gold.
Yep. Ironbog currently sitting on a Ash board right now, not a board we haven't seen so far in the tournament. But really interested to see if they can actually just keep themselves alive. Once again, I think the strategy might be to let K-Bubble take first place and just have one other member in the top 4. If you can achieve that, that's all you need to win.
Yes, that's true. I mean, you're giving up on some degree of reliability, of course, if you can push the entire opposing team out. But every team playing here in the EWC is going to be having every piece of effort to try and make sure a blowout just doesn't ever happen if they can help it.
Yeah, it's obviously there are other scenarios of like if you go 7-8, then Flash Wolves can still lose even with the first place. And Achen hits on 401, already sitting on Karma pair. Probably didn't even need to roll. No, he didn't even roll.
62 gold left in the bank as well. This is crazy. We've got, I mean, you look at the items as well, still yet to be deployed. This feels like Archen's moment again.
This is I think that there's added risks of playing Golden Destiny in 4v4 because landing in the right spot might be more important than the initial ejection of gold. And I think YYDM is just being put in such a bad position. There are so many terrifyingly tempo leading boards right now. Katarina 3, GP 3, Karma 2 right now. There's no way YYDM hangs on again, right? Right?
I don't know if we've learned our lesson from the previous game, but there are so many lessons to try and figure out. We do see, at least in this instance here, how with what would, at least on paper, be a counter matchup for the Karma. The Mundo's so strong, making it very hard for Sorcerers to start chaining those kills. But we've got some Prismatics. We started the series with a Prismatic, and we're going to end the series with a Prismatic as well.
I wonder if YYDM is going for a max cap angle if he's playing reroll. I believe he was going for Battle Academia Prodigy the last time we saw him. So I'm thinking about what could actually save him here. No, he's just going to go for max amount of tankiness, and he needs to hit this Yuumi 2 right now. Leona's good find, but he needs the damage.
And he will be able to dupe the Leona as well, so that's a lot of front line. But I mean, we've got the scaling power of the Archangels there as well, but money is an issue for YYDM. I mean, you've got to have to build your way back up economically by getting the wins.
The good thing is that Chungut actually pivoted off of the Garen line. He's playing more of a Star Guardian setup, so there's more Yuumis in the pool for him to find. And now looking at Aha's board, this was my prediction that he was going to go for the high cost after the slamming. It's going to be being a bronze board with the Twisted Fate and currently sitting on the Ash, but I think for this composition we've seen a lot of times that people do pivot more towards a Varus end. You can shift the Guinsoo's Rage Blade over to the Twisted Fate, and that gives you a very good bronze board.
All right, so looking at the field overall, we're almost halfway through stage 4. Flash Wolves occupying the bottom 2 and top 1 spots. Gababa, of course, still a lot of attention behind him as Huru, just a little bit below, does find a 2-star Karma. So we're picking things up even further. The Prismatics, of course, the extra injection of late game power.
And surprisingly to me, Flash Wolves now has the HP lead on the top side of the board. They've been able to stabilize quite well. The Karma 2 is absolutely massive here. And let's see if this GP3 can claim his throne as the best comp in the tournament.
I mean, the items are absolutely illegal, and we can see that Kabuko soaks up the entirety of Karma's damage. There's just too much beef on this field, Clement.
And this is where climb to the top can start to hurt you, because you're going to be meeting that GP3 over and over again. Ooh.
No, I haven't even thought about it that way.
Yeah.
It's such, considering that this is a relatively new format for our players to be playing in, you're just adding this further layer on top of the normal 4v4 to try and maximize the use of an unusual augment.
And it's been a while since we've checked in on Ironbog. We initially had him playing more of an Ash line, but now that Aha has moved into it, he's been going into free fall. He's now 8th place, even beyond YYDM. So I'm very curious as to where he ended up. I thought he was going to be playing a Jhin, but probably not possible now.
No, we see the Jarl coming through. There's a couple of upgrades creeping in across the board. See how is relatively close to where he wants to be, but let's see, Iron Bog looks like we are going to be seeing a change here. We've had the 3-star Zac in place for a while. Of course, for the Flash Rolls, Iron Bog and YYDM, they are, you know, at least their most accomplished players up until this point, at least. It would be a devastating blow to morale for Iron Bog to go out with a swift 8th.
Yeah, this doesn't look like a very salvageable position, unfortunately. He did hit the all-out, but Socialite is currently pretty suspect. A lot of players have reported that you don't actually get any bonuses once you move off of those hexes. So I don't know if he knows the tech or not. Could be a bad find for him.
Ooh, it certainly doesn't seem to be working right there. Ironbog takes another L down to sub 20 HP. You're talking about a free fall. It's going very quickly. Remember, YYDM, again, the other player who was expected to be a big performer, is also low on HP.
Yeah, down to 37, playing a contested line. He's glad that Stringa has moved off of it, but it's still very difficult to hold on, as we can see right here, losing again to the GP board. And that was a remover wasted. That was a no-item GP that still won.
Hey. Well, Ironbog, I mean, in so much trouble. Does have access potentially to the Jarvan upgrade, but I can't help. Well, we have got a champion duplicator on the bench, so very close to finding a Cassante too if you give up on the Jarvan, but it feels like Ironbog just doesn't have time to be picky.
No, he still has the HP to see the PvE round. I think he's relatively safe right here. You take 8 base damage, so he should still be alive. But then you're going to run into one of your stronger teammates, and that's just lights out. So I think we're seeing the structure of this match be kind of defined here. It's going to be about the top 2 spots here. The bottom spots, unfortunately, it's very hard to see how Flash Rolls can evade those slots. No,
and I mean, as we talked about way before, so many doors closed. The all-out Cassante won. Actually, I think with a little bit of help from his teammate there, it's going to keep Ironbog healthy for a round longer.
So K-Bubble ends up not needing to waste his remover because he runs into the teammates over and over again.
Yes.
So, a bit of luck going in there.
You're playing the game, the lobby overall. YYDM. I mean, this is terrifying times for Flash Rolls. Both of these players sub 20 HP. I mean, the Prodigy board is looking good, but we talked about this before. Yeah, we've not got too much further to go in terms of adding more power.
Yeah, and the bad news here is Flancy did find the Yuumi. He's playing the Katarina board, so he hit 8 a lot later than YYDM, but still able to get the board online even faster. This is the critical roll down, 17 HP. He needs to hit right now. There is a pair of Yuumis, but the last one is going to be critical. His power-ups, 3 items on that character. Doesn't find it.
It's so wild that, especially with the system, the power-up system coming in, how much of these games is going to be decided by just getting that little bit of RNG in your favor. And you've just got to plan around it in one way or the other. Ironbog has at least stabilized for the time being. The Cassante needs to do some serious work.
Oh, going up against Ahawe. Let's see if the Cassante can find a straight path into the back line. We've seen this happen a lot of times.
He doesn't go onto the Ashe, though. That's going to be such a morale hit. And immediately Ashe will proc the Edge of Night, but give it a little bit more time and takes out both of the primary carries. The Volibear comes a call in, and that's some very bad news. YYDM is down. Ironbog down to 1 HP. Clement, it's looking like your prediction's coming true.
Yeah, you could kind of tell from a mile away just with how much tempo that Twisted Mind was able to control that it was going to be a fight about controlling 1 and 2 in the slots right here. Haruru and K-Balbao are going to have to carry for the team right now. And just want to say that was very good positioning coming in from Ahawe. He definitely understood the pathing mechanics coming in, so he had a double layer front line to make sure that the enemy still had units to target to after they wrapped.
Yeah, and it was such a heart stopper to see him go right past your back like Aaron say, not today, my friend. Ironbog has one more chance to stay alive against Haruru. I mean, this time you can see the Cassante is very far away from the backline cover he'd like to get to in a hurry. But the units are disappearing very quickly. The Karma stays on target, and it's exactly as you called it. It's remaining for the last 2 Flash Balls. They must go first and second to win the series.
Wow, this is going to be so difficult. K-Bao has a pretty decent chance of going first place here. Haruru is eyeing for that Gwen too. So all of the players on Twisted Mind should be trying to lock down those 2 copies.
I think you bring up a really good point there, which is it's not just a case of having, 4 players on the other side and 2 players on yours. You've got 4 players contesting your units, trying to mess with you and working together. It's even worse of a position than it seems like it is right now for the Flash Wolves.
And we are going to see Shunga commit basically tactical, taking himself outside of the game. He just knows that he doesn't want to waste the HP from his teammates, so he's going to take him out of the pool, make sure that there's no easy matchups for Haruru and K-Bao to kind of feast on. This is definitely allowed. It's you cannot forfeit, but you can get these technical losses.
All right, so Clement, talk to me about the situation here. So again, Flash Wolves, they must get first and second.
Yep.
What's your prognosis in terms of how likely that is to actually happen?
I think the Gwen 2 is the key thing here. We just saw the Sork coming in from Achen actually beat out on Haruru's board. Haru still has the HP advantage, but basically the Gwen 2 is going to swing the entire matchup heavily. Ahawe also with a big find here on the Braum. That's also one of the key upgrades that the Sork board wants. So just to give everyone a rundown, K-Bao is on the GP3, Haruru and Achen are on the Sork compositions, and Ahawe, I believe, is playing the Bronze comp. So he's looking for the Varus and the Twisted Fates. Basically the legendaries and who finds them are going to decide most of this game.
Gosh. Away on the right-hand side of the screen at the moment, of course, the Flancy's Battle at Academia on the left. I just really love seeing the volley bear style play actually paying off in this way.
Yeah, it's really... Oh, no. Haru, he hit Fusion Dance and Gwen 2. That was what I was talking about. Whoever hit this first, they take it out of the pool, they solidify their own position, and it's going to be so hard to move him out.
Yeah, I mean, we saw from before, it's not completely unstoppable, but we got 3 items, we've got effectively 2 units worth of stats there. Last time we saw this whole setup, it was all about the positioning. And
the cannon's in the back.
The Katarina blows through her too quickly.
A huge win coming in from Flancy right there. The focus fire with the Rise and the Katarina. I don't think the Gwen even got the 3rd cast.
No, I'm not sure either, but let's see. So we've ended up with Achen and Aoi both, well, currently in 4th and 5th position. For the Wolves, again, it's 1st and 2nd. Any finish, particularly for Haru, that's the player to watch here. Yeah. Because they're on 18 HP. Kabao could win the whole lobby and it would not matter.
Right now, Ahawe doesn't have enough gold to reach his max cap at level 9, so he's just going to have to settle for this Ash board. All the chips are now on Flancy. Flancy needs to take into the top 2. A lot of it is going to come down to fight RNG. If K-Ball takes down Flancy before Twisted Mind can take down Haruru, then it means that Flash Wolves wins. If the opposite is true, then Twisted Mind clinches it.
You do see those games from time to time, don't you, where you just see a team or a particular player run away, but Aoi will not be part of the equation anymore. Achen, Aoi are both down.
Flancy wins again.
Yeah, it's Flancy on his lone, so we've gone from a numbers advantage to a numbers disadvantage. This is the deciding game for who will be going up to face up against Citadel in the upper bracket.
Oh, I'm just shaking all over. I can't believe that every match in this series has gone down to nail-biting last fights. This is going to be so close. Now, the first thing to remember is Flancy can know who he... Flancy, he just showed that he's fighting K-Pop next. I'm not... Maybe that was a visual a bug right there. We're going to see how this matchup ends up. So K-Pop should be the strongest player currently on the GP line. If he manages to run into Flancy multiple times, then he could just clinch that for his team. And it does look like Flancy has to go up against a GP. This is the more difficult matchup. He was able to stop Haruru the last time, but now he has to go up against the ace of the team. How will he position this? He needs to get the GP down early, but the GP also has the Edge of Night.
Yeah, because he's got the double scaling for the Guinsus and the Kraken as well. Kabao is going to be thinking very carefully. There's so much burst here. Wait.
He's using his remover to keep Haruru alive. Oh, he's waiting to see his matchup before he commits his items.
I see, yes. Okay, so we'll keep our eyes closely on the Gangplank. The Katarina, of course, will be dancing over the right-hand side. Gangplank is building up his power over on the left. Katarina has taken a lot of damage during the early going. She's getting focused.
Unstoppable hits the Katarina.
That's extra CC, can be everything. The board is starting to fall apart very quickly, and Leona stands alone. Flancy, it's not even close.
Flancy on 2 HP. That was such a cool move from K-Bao. So he takes his items off the Gangplank. That means the Ghost is going to be unitemized. So very easy win for Haruru. Now Flancy, this is the fight that he can control. If he wants to knock out Haruru here, he would need to take down 8 units from the opposing board.
We've got to remember as well that all that needs to happen, Haruru, if he falls out, K-Bao, it doesn't matter if he wins. It needs to be first and second place for the Flush Rolls. It's still a winnable scenario for Twisted Mind.
Sorry, 6 units. So he needs to win by 6 units here. It's a Ghost, so it's not going to matter. Okay. This means that Haruru actually has a chance to win the fight here, and he should because the GP3 is not on the board. And if the next fight, Flancy rotates into K-Bao once again, Flash Wolf clinches it.
It's been a hell of a road just to get to this point. This is just the opening match of Group C. Citadel are waiting for the winner.
Is Haruru's Ghost?
Wait, no way.
No way. Is Haruru's Ghost going to win it?
That is unallowable. Another card's going to come through.
It's a 1v1 between the Swains.
Are they going to draw?
But
no.
It's a Swain versus Leona, but there's 6 Sork on one of these Swains, and he's stacking up damage every single round. They could just be knocking Flancy off here.
No.
The 1v1 wet noodle fight. No!
It's over. The Flash Wolves have done it.
No, Leona won in the end. Leona won in the end. No, Leona won. The final Solar Blast won.
Okay.
But here is... Oh, he rotates into Haruru again.
Okay.
He dodges the bullet on K-Bao. I just had to stop you there because I was getting so afraid. I thought the 6 Sork Swain was going to clinch it.
All right, down to the very wire then.
Flancy, he still needs to get through one more. And this time around, K-Bao has the matchup. He's rotating into Flancy's Ghost. So this fight probably doesn't matter for K-Bao. It is going to matter a lot for Flancy.
And we've seen that Flancy's been struggling in these rounds as well. We've got the extra item of the Coronation on the Akali as well, but...
Here we go.
We need to keep track of where this Katarina dances through the fight. That Gwen is an absolute monster. We've seen it again and again. The signature unit of K-Bao. Katarina's in the right spot. She's taking down most of Gwen's
I don't think Gwen gets the cast, does she?
She's going to be able to... No, she doesn't get
Gwen's
through.
down. Haru
stays alive. 2 HP is all you need.
Was not enough damage done. Who does Flancy rotate into? It should be K-Bao.
1 unit would have done it. They're both, everyone's down to single digits.
It could not be any closer. The last fight decides it all. That is going to be a strategist for Haruru if he can make his way over there. Flancy, yeah, he's going to play denial.
He's got to.
He knows the 3 strategists will swing the board way too much. And now it's down to fight RNG. Flancy should be rotating back into K-Bao. It's been a while since that's happened.
Oh, boy. I mean, talk to me about this. What swings this one way or the other? Katarina, Gangplank.
So K-Bao versus Flancy. This is the fight that there's a couple different scenarios. K-Bao should win this one, as we've seen before, but Haruru could also lose more HP. So we actually need to see who Haruru rotates into. He should be hitting the Ghost. We're just not sure which one.
Boys, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for the series to end. I'm going to be here right now.
But there's no removers anymore.
We'll keep a very close eye on those HP totals. Again, Flash Wolves, they need the top 2. They came 7th and 8th overall. Let's see, so Flancy will be on the left-hand side of your screen. It's still not, as you said, a done deal, even if Flancy loses this one. We'll keep our eye really close. The Gangplank will go deep into territory. The Katarina takes a lot of damage.
He's doing too much damage.
She's still alive. She's going to cast, but the tanks are too strong. Gangplank's right in the middle of it, and I don't think there's any way to win anymore. Plinking away at the damage. Flancy is going to drop. Haruru is down as well. We need to see those HP totals.
There was no removers left, so he couldn't pull the same trick. And Twisted Mind wins. Twisted Mind wins because even though they lost, Haru took more damage.
Oh my